Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Oh, yes! This is Goldar, and you're listening to Toku Secrets Podcast. Don't tune us out, tune us in.
Welcome to Toku Secrets. Join us as we journey into the marvelous world of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and many other tokusatsu. Get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. It's Morphin time! Link to the Morphin. I'm Nathan Desai, the dazzling adventurer, Spoken Silver.
I'm Patrick Allen, I'm Shinken Red.
And I'm Rizwan Merchant, Gokai Red.
And I'm Anthony Davis, also known as Curie Green. And we're Toku Secrets.
Welcome, everyone, once again to the Toku Secrets podcast presented by animesecrets.org. And guys, we are taking a little bit of a break from our usual Sentai stuff, which is pretty fitting. I mean, we're kind of in between Sentais right now, so we're going to take a little bit of a break to continue our review of a series that means quite a lot to us here at Toku Secrets. So, Power Rangers, the audio drama, you might recall that we did seasons 1 and 2. Well, season 3 just wrapped up not too long ago. And as promised, now we are going to be reviewing it. We've definitely been looking forward to this. We've had a couple of the people who work on this show reach out to us to talk about it. I know Jimmy Ace Lewis, who plays Rocky, has asked me about it. Which, if you're listening to this, Jimmy, thanks for reaching out and everything. It's definitely been great hearing from you, man.
Yeah, and our really good friend Nathan Marchand has also been, I think, waiting for us to release this because he really enjoyed our first two recaps of this podcast.
Yep.
Also, I'm pretty sure our dear friend Karl Dutton, the man who made all this possible, is also equally interested in hearing what we have to say this time around.
Yep.
So, shout outs to all of them, and yeah. Anyone else in the Discord for the audio drama group, much love to y'all. Y'all are amazing. And we hope you guys enjoy this.
Yep, 100%. So we're going to I'm going to try to recap season 2 as much as I can, although a lot of stuff happened in season 2. So if people aren't able to really keep up at home with everything I'm about to say, well, you can either go check out our previous podcast or you can just, I don't know. I mean, but I do understand if you guys can't follow up with a recap because a lot happened in season 2. So to cut a long story short, although it's still going to be long, so we got 5 new Rangers that joined the main 5 Rangers. They were called the Thunder Rangers. These were Rangers who were directly based off of the main 5 dairangers from Gosei Sentai Dairanger. You had the Red Dragon Thunder Ranger. That was Rocky DeSantos. The Green Lion Thunder Ranger, Adam Park. Aisha, the Yellow Griffin Thunder Ranger. Catherine Hillard, the Pink Phoenix Thunder Ranger. And Tommy's older brother, David, the Blue Pegasus Thunder Ranger. While Lord Zedd was forced to return to his home when it came under attack by the Machine Empire, Rita infiltrated the U.S. government. She wanted to destroy the Rangers while also spying on them. She was using Kat to spy on them. She was holding Kat's family captive and forcing Kat to work for her in exchange for their safety. And she took over as the president of the United States in disguise and used these Ninjetti coins to create a team of evil Shadow Rangers. And they were using the Shogun Zords in battle. The Rangers traveled to the planet Phaedos. They obtained the 6th coin from the Thunder Power coins. This allowed them to revive Tommy, and he became the White Ranger, although it came at the cost of him being endowed with the White Light, which turned him into a soulless warrior. And following the death of Tommy and David's mother, Tommy being partially responsible for that, Rita tried to pit Tommy and David against each other as the Green and White Rangers. David was using the Dragon Coin after his blue Pegasus coin got destroyed, and she wanted Tommy to kill him so that he could turn into a powerful warrior named Lord Draken. But with help from a mysterious officer from the future, Alex Drake, the Red Time Force Ranger, the other Rangers were able to stop Tommy and defeat Rita, and Rita was rendered powerless, so she was taken into custody by the U.S. government. And then the Rangers all graduated high school, but their victory was cut short because Zedd returned alongside Rita's father, Lord Vilius. For those back home who follow the main series, this series' iteration of Master Vile, and her brother Rito Bandora, so Rito Revolto. They returned Rita to his side, and Lord Zedd unleashed her on the world, and Rita destroyed the Rangers' power coins. And that brings us to where we are now. Now, before we jump into the main episodes that continue the story, we're going to start off by taking a look at this bonus episode that was released as part of this season called Origins of Thunder. So this is kind of a flashback to kind of give us bigger context on how the Thunder Rangers, all got their powers. So it starts off a year ago during the events of the season 1 finale. So we get Mr. Kaku. He appears before Rocky, Aisha, and Adam. They're all students at the Stone Canyon High School, and he tells them of the impending attack from the Zedorian Empire. He recruits them to join his team of Thunder Rangers. The Thunder Coins having guided him to them since they're the chosen ones. They see Master Kaku's ship and get convinced, although Rocky is somewhat skeptical. And then they go around trying to find their last 2 teammates. Kat returns home one day, and she gets approached by Rita Bandora, who reveals she's holding her family captive and demands Kat do as she say in exchange for their lives. Everyone except Kat arrives at David's house, and Kaku leaves the coin in David's possession, allows them to make his decision about becoming a ranger. And then the following day, Kaku sees Zedd's message to the world. This was shown to us during the in-game arc in season 1. And unless the Rangers surrender themselves, he would destroy the world one city by city. Kat claims to have been drawn to them, and she comes to Kaku, and then they go get David, and they get alerted to Zedd just as he begins his attack on Chicago, which is what resulted in the city all being wiped out. David doubts his ability to be a ranger since he would let everyone let down, but he's convinced to help after hearing about Chicago. Kaku gives each of the Rangers their Thunder Morphers, and they all morph for the first time. Kaku has to teach them how to do it. But they find that they're too late to stop Serpentera, and the episode ends as they all arrive at the command center to reveal themselves to the team. Okay, so I just spoke for like 7 minutes, so guys, you guys want to give your thoughts on this episode? Anybody want to go first?
Yeah, my mute button decided to stop being a mute button, so I couldn't unmute.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I was like, come on, click, but it wouldn't click. So, yeah. This episode is really cool because it fills in some of the gap of what were the Thunder Rangers doing prior to Chicago, and how did Kaku recruit them, what troubles did they run into. I always kind of thought David would be a troublemaker of like accepting the power immediately, and it's nice to know that I'm correct about that.
Yeah.
I also like that he taught them how to morph, like, you know, doing the whole thing with them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just like how this leads into the finale of season 1.
Yeah, well,
part
the
of season
final
2.
scene. Yeah,
Right.
it ties in pretty good.
Yeah, it ties in really well with the final scene of season 1 and the opening premiere of season 2. And
Yeah, for
so
sure.
that's a really awesome tie-in that, you know, we didn't need, but it's definitely very, very welcome.
Oh, yeah.
You want to add anything, Anthony?
It was tied up very well. I don't know what it is, y'all, but like, Did anyone else feel like David was a little bit too harsh even before the whole stuff with Tommy, dying and all that?
Well, we kind of had an inkling of that even before. Well, I think in season 2, when David finds out that Tommy died, there's a flashback to the Halloween party before David's a ranger, and you can kind of see David being a bit of an ass to Kimberly, calling her a slutty harlequin and all
Yeah.
that, you know?
Yep.
So he was never the best of people in terms of like personality and all that. He was kind of more of an ass, but he ended up being a really awesome character by the end of everything when all things are said and done.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's all part of the journey, and I think it was all worth.
Yeah. And to be fair, I can't ever forget him though. So I guess the audio drama did a good job of me never forgetting this character.
David? How do you forget David?
No, I'm just saying like the audio drama did a good job of me remembering David because of how he was as a character.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I mean, he leaves more of an impression than his main series counterpart, which, I'll be honest, it's been a long time since I've seen those Zeo episodes that he appears in, so I don't even know what his character was like, but I'd imagine that this is a
He was kind of just there.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I remember, he was just there. He didn't really have much of a personality per se. Sure, there was one time where him and Tommy were sparring. He kind of got all mad at him for, because, he can't fight, obviously, but there wasn't really anything more to it than that.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Oh, and he got kidnapped by King Mondo at one point, too.
Yeah. I gotta watch those episodes again, because it's been a while since I've watched Zeo all the way through.
Well, sounds like we gotta watch Power Ranger at some point.
Okay, yeah, whatever.
But, come on, it'll be fun. Plus, they're doing Zeo next season. We have to do it.
Yeah, I know. But what do we want to give this out of 10?
I mean, it's pretty well tied in. Writing is really tight. It's what I would expect from them for stuff like this. So, definite 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, 9 for me.
I'll give it a 9.
All right, cool. So now we can jump into the main content. Get back to where we left off with the episode Ninja Quest. So this picks up from where season 2 left off. The world is being ravaged by Rita and Zedd's forces. The Rangers are thinking what to do, and Billy discovers ancient writing on the drained coins. Zordon reveals that its coordinates leading to a planet in the Rutabaga system. That's where an ancient temple lies, and they think the planet may be key in restoring their powers. So the Rangers opt to travel there, although Zordon and Alpha are skeptical. They don't think there's any life on the planet. So Jason, Zach, Trini, and David, they stay to fight Rita's forces with Eltarian weapons. And then the other 5, that being Tommy, Billy, Kimberly, Rocky, and Aisha, they decide to travel to the planet. Adam is forced to stay in the medical bay because he's been crippled from an injury to his spine. So here's an interesting thing. As Jason, Zach, and Trini and David are fighting against Rita and Zed's forces, they get saved by a mysterious warrior. He introduces himself as Prince Dex of Edenoi, the masked rider. So that's pretty cool. And Anthony can comment a bit more on that once we get to the discussion part of this episode.
Yeah.
Zedd gets contacted by another ally named Count Dragon. He prepares to repair his ship to join with Zedd's forces. Now, at the Rutabaga planet, the other Rangers, they arrive at the temple. They meet an old man named Nare Ninjori. I'm just going to call him Ninjori for the rest of this. He's a mysterious being. He's revealed to be the creator of the power coins. He refuses to help the Rangers because he was betrayed by the people whom he gave the ninja coins to. Those people took the coins, then they gave them to Zedd before he could even finish the 6th crane coin. But he gets convinced to help them because the Rangers say they wish to use their power to stop Zedd, and Zordon convinces him. So Ninjori takes the shadow coins and the drained power coins and fuses them together while also creating the 6th crane coin, and that completes the Ninjetti coins and restores the Rangers' powers. Tommy, Kim, and Billy retain their white, blue, and pink powers. Rocky, Adam, and Aisha get Jason, Trini, and Zach's old red, black, and yellow powers. They feature the same suits, but with different helmets to reflect their new animal theme. And if you've seen Power Rangers, you know Tommy the Falcon, Rocky the Ape, Billy the Wolf, Adam the Frog, sorry again, Adam, Kim the Crane, and Aisha the Bear.
Boogie with the bear.
Yep. Adam is cured of his crippled state upon getting his powers, but finds that he's only able to walk while morphed. He's still crippled when unmorphed because fusing the power coins was seen as experimental and unpredictable. So the Rangers have their new powers, but they get attacked by Zedd and Goldar. Zedd destroys the temple and nearly kills Ninjori before Billy overpowers him. Billy's ready to kill him out of rage, but the Rangers call a vengeful Billy off, and the Rangers retreat. Ninjori returns to Rutabaga to contain Zedd and Goldar. Dragon releases a powerful giant monster on the city on Earth. The 6 Rangers arrive. They fight off Rito and Zedd's forces. Then they summon the Shogun Zords. The Shogun Megazord destroys Count Dragon's monster. The world is saved. Jason, Zach, and Trini opt to step down from being Rangers. They all reject an offer from Dex to take another rider's powers. Adam suggests that Chad Yeager, this old military man that he kind of had a thing going on with, to be the second rider. Zach voices confidence in him. Jason voices confidence in Rocky and Tommy. And the 3 former Rangers promise to stay in touch, and everybody begins their new lives in college. But on the ship, Zedd is reported to be missing, and Rita is delighted. She gets appointed as the new Empress by her father, Count Vilius, as part of a deal made with Zedd. So some Easter eggs and references. You can probably guess. The title of this episode takes its name from the 4-part episode of the same name of the main series, Ninja Quest. This episode features the debut of Prince Dex, he's the Prince of Planet Eninoy and the Masked Rider. His nemesis, Count Dragon, also debuts here. These characters are all adaptations of Kamen Rider Black RX characters. They all originally appeared in the MMPR Season 3 premiere 3-part episode of Friend in Need. Then they went on their own show. And fittingly enough, a re-edition of the Masked Rider theme song can be heard playing in the background when Masked Rider makes his debut. Jason, Trini, and Zach's departure from the team is a direct adaptation of how the 3 left the team in the main series, although this is much later and under very different circumstances. I think I mentioned this in the previous podcast regarding the audio drama, but still kind of interesting to mention it here. The Rangers using the Shogun Zords as their first set of Zords with their new powers. It lines up with their Sentai counterparts. They were called the Kyodai Juice Show. They were the first set of mechs to be used by the Kakurangers in the series, as opposed to Power Rangers main series, where they were actually the second. And also, again, if this isn't where Karl got the idea from, I apologize, but this just kind of stood out to me. Technically, the concept of the Rangers having the same suits but different helmets, it's a new concept, but I can't help but think that it could have been inspired by comments made by Linkara, because during Linkara's History of Power Rangers review of MMPR Season 3, he criticizes the idea of them morphing into their old suits and suggesting they could have had different helmets at least. So again, if that's not what inspired you and it was just your own idea, you never heard of it, Karl, I apologize, but just wanted to bring that up.
So I can actually add something to that. I saw somewhere online someone had actually drew up the helmets of how they would look like if they had the ninja powers embedded in them.
Okay.
It's somewhere online. I can probably find the link to it and just send it to y'all.
Well, yeah, I would definitely like to see what that looks like, because here's the thing, and again, obviously this doesn't hurt the series, but the only 2 Rangers who they show artwork for with new helmets are Tommy and Rocky. So I really would like to see what the other 4 Rangers' new helmets would have looked like. But
Found it right here.
Yeah, but what do we think? What do we think about this episode, guys?
I had a lot of really good points about it, but one thing that I was kind of like, okay, I liked everything in this episode, but I don't like the morphing call anymore.
You don't?
No. That's
is it
my.
for the reason I think it is?
What's the reason you think it is?
I noticed this because when I was listening to this in preparation for our podcast, I was literally looking at my phone, like reading subtitles, and Tommy has to call out. So for those, I didn't mention the morphing call here when we were doing this podcast, guys, but they're not calling out like White Ranger power, Black Ranger power, etc., etc. They're actually saying Tommy would say Tiger, Falcon Ranger power, Mastodon Frog, or Lion Frog. I can't remember Ranger power.
It's Mastodon.
Okay, yeah. Well, the subtitles for this podcast on Spotify are not really that great, and it has Tommy saying Tiger F-word Ranger power. I'm trying to stay politically correct here with our language here, guys, but yeah.
That was so funny.
That wasn't the reason I didn't like
I'm glad I
it.
showed y'all that.
Okay, then why is that?
I just feel like it's a weird. It just seems weird to me to say something like, Mastodon Frog Ranger power. Like those are two wildly different creatures, and to me it just seems odd. Like I understand why they did it to honor the fact that they're using the powers of the Zyuranger coin and the kakuranger coin, but it seemed odd. And it's not anything bad. Like I'm not taking off points for this whatsoever. It just such a minor nitpick to me, but it's still something I wanted to note that I was not a huge fan of it. But
yeah,
again,
I wouldn't have minded them just calling out Falcon Frog or just Falcon Ninja power or something like.
Yeah, that would have sounded cool.
Yeah, I mean, I like how they changed the morph call from the main series because I never really liked how they just changed. It sounded so generic in season.
White Ranger power, Pink Ranger power, Blue Ranger power. I'm sitting here like, bro, no, let's do something fun.
Yeah, like
so, no. Kudos to Karl for coming up with something cool. It didn't hit for me, and that's okay. It's not supposed to hit for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
But looking at the good sides of this, I do like the beginning of the Adam storyline for the rest of the season with the wheelchair and the crippledingness.
Yeah, me too.
Mainly because it took Power Rangers, the franchise in TV show form, literally 30 years to give us a character with any kind of disability outside of like wearing glasses, because that's a minor disability. And that's with Javi in Cosmic Fury losing his arm.
Yep.
So having Adam kind of give representation to those in a wheelchair or those that are in other ways not fully abled by normal societal values, to me that's a big deal. Because I do carry my own set of problems that I was born with. So it's nice to see representation being brought out for that.
Yeah, for sure.
So it sucks as a journey for Adam. I know it's like an up and down roller coaster because on one hand he's like, yay, I can get my powers and I can be fixed. And then he's like, oh, I can't be fixed unless I'm a ranger. And we're going to go into a lot more detail on that later. But
Yep.
I'm just setting the stage for that conversation when it does come up later on. I also think the introduction of Dex is pretty cool. I didn't expect that. That was not even on my radar. Things to expect to see Prince Dex appear and do what he did. I thought
I didn't expect that either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, neither did I. In fact, I remember specifically when I was listening to episode 1, like that I was listening to this back when I was still in Pennsylvania, but I was driving for like 4 hours to go visit my mom in Virginia, and I was listening to it, and I was legitimately surprised, like while I was driving. Not really the best timing because I'm like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah,
like, probably not the type of reaction I should have when I'm driving my car, but still pretty awesome.
Yeah, and like I thought it was pretty awesome how he meets the other Rangers, and they're confused about him being another type of Ranger, and he's like, no, I'm a rider, and that brings up the very distinct idea that in this universe, you have people with powers who can be considered a Ranger, you got people with powers who can be considered a rider, but the distinction of what makes you a Ranger or a rider is not very clear to me as of yet in terms of this universe.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping either Sane or Karl can explain that in one of their two audio dramas, because there is a Masked Rider audio drama that I know Anthony's currently caught up, but I'm only on episode 3 of it. And so I'm hoping one of the two can figure out a good way to explain the difference in that in the future.
They kind of do, but like I don't know if it was in episode 4 or 5 or not. I'm not sure. I think I have to re-listen to it again.
If they explained it and I don't know about it, it has to be in 4 and 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that a lot.
I thought it was really funny when the monster grows giant and Jason turns to Dex and says, "Please tell me you have a Zord." And then Dex is all like, "What's a Zord?" And then they're like, "Oh no."
Yeah,
that was funny.
One thing that we kind of overlooked, and it's not a huge plot point, but I appreciated the crap out of it, and that was the motivation of Jason and David to stay behind and help defend New York. I thought that was really admirable that Jason didn't want another Chicago, so he was willing to go out with just Eltarian weapons to fight the good fight, no ranger powers or anything. And David was similar in that he didn't want anyone else to get hurt. And then Trini and Zach are like, screw it. If y'all are staying, we staying.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, take note, Operation Overdrive Rangers. This is how you're a Power Ranger.
Ooh, we're going for the blood early today. I like it.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that.
No. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
Never be sorry.
Never be sorry for Overdrive.
Now,
no.
One other note. I think, Nate, I wanted to make this comment earlier, but I was trying to look for a photo online, but I didn't find a good photo of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I was a kid and the 95 movie was coming out, I seem to remember there being toys at Toys R Us of the Rangers, but they were slightly modified from what you're used to with the Zyuranger suits, and they did have those modified helmets you're talking about. Like a wolf helmet, a falcon helmet, etc.
Possibly,
So I'm kind of thinking that Karl could have gotten the inspiration from the toy as well, but also it's not a huge stretch to imagination to say that he wanted to change the motif to fit the new suits. I mean, that's another thing to look at.
I'm all down for it. I don't care where he got the motivation for, because again, I mean, you're in season 2, they were kind of able, and I'm talking about the main series here, not the show, not this one. In season 2, they were kind of able to get away with explaining why they're still wearing dinosaur-inspired costumes while using Zords that are themed after mythological creatures, but there was no excuse in season 3.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Saban was cheap. That's the excuse.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that, this universe doesn't, takes full advantage of that and gives them different helmets.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lot easier because we don't see everything, right?
Yeah.
When we get to the end, remind me to talk about that point in more detail, because there's something I learned from one of the audio dramas after so specials they did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you'll listen to it on Spotify or not, but I did, and I learned something pretty cool.
I listened to the one they made after the season finale.
Yeah, that's what I listened to as well. So you probably know what I'm talking about when I mention it.
I listened to most of it. There's still maybe 30 or something minutes I need to listen to, but
then you'll know what I'm talking about because it was well before that.
Yeah. Okay.
But when we get to the finale, I'm gonna make a comment, and you're gonna be interested in that.
Okay.
What do we want to get Ninja Quest out of 10, though, guys?
9.
Yeah, I'm calling it a 9.
Yeah, because
9 as well.
there's a 10 in here, but I'm holding it for that 10. So
Yeah. Well, I mean,
There's a 10 in here that I personally for me, I think is a 10.
yep.
yeah,
For my own reasons, but you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right. Now we have episode 2, A Friend in Need. So as this episode opens up, the Rangers are all together at Angel Grove University. But there are tensions that are starting to rise within the team. Adam is very distraught over his condition. He frequently lashes out at people. Rocky gets really angry with Tommy when he dismisses this idea of them taking action against a gang that killed their orientation counselor. But the Rangers get called to the command center where they meet Kat. Kat was acquitted for her crimes, and she reveals that Bandora has killed her family. But almost immediately after that, the Rangers get alerted to Bandora. She's attacked Angel Grove University because she's now under extreme pressure from Villius to kill the Rangers within a strict time frame. During the fight, Aisha and Kat get teleported onto Bandora's ship after they chase her retreating into her teleporter. And Kat and Aisha, they save Kat's family. It's revealed that they weren't killed, and they're able to retreat from the ship just in time. In the aftermath, Aisha, she has always held resentment toward Kat for what she did, particularly destroying this one military base in season 2. She makes amends with Kat. She's softened up to her after seeing her reunite with her family. Kat reveals that she and her family are going to live in Nebraska, and then they take their leave. Billy makes amends with his father. He got into a spat with his father because his father was angry that he wasn't going to a more prestigious school. And Adam opens up to his depression over all that's happened, which causes him to kind of, not lighten up, but just kind of feel a little bit more relieved. Tommy and Kimberly rekindle their relationship. Everybody returns to Angel Grove University to meet with their friends. Villius, at the end of the episode, Villius tells Rita off for her failure, and he questions why she should be allowed to continue her battle with the Rangers, but Rita convinces him to let her continue because she announces her plans to use the teleporter to abduct humans and to create an army. Plus, she also reveals she's learned about ninjori on the Rutabaga system. A couple of Easter eggs here. This episode shares its name with the 3-part premiere of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3 in the main series. The prison block number that Rita is holding Kat's family is AA-23. That's the same number of the detention block that Princess Leia is being held on the Death Star in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Yeah, I'm a complete Star Wars nerd, so the fact I remember those types of details, I'm a complete Star Wars nerd. Go ahead and sue me for that.
I mean, that's something we've noted in our Jedi Squadron podcast 20 million times, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. This episode marks the debut of Ernie. He is depicted as the owner of a juice bar in the Angel Grove University Student Lounge. He's a direct adaptation of Ernie. He's the owner of in the main series, Angel Grove Youth Center. He's a juice bar and gym that the Rangers would hang out frequently from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers all the way to Power Rangers Turbo. Ernie was a recurring character in all 3 Mighty Morphin seasons, and he was a regular character in Zeo before leaving the show. So, yeah. What do we think about this one, guys?
I think the biggest takeaway I had from it is Rocky's reaction to his counselor dying.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was an interesting detail because it brings up a really good question of, well, what is the purpose of the Ranger? Is it to fight just the extraterrestrial things, or is it also to help with the terrestrial problems like gangs and other stuff like that? And where do you draw the line and what they can do before they're oversubscribed? So I thought that was pretty cool to bring up here.
Yeah, most of this episode, I think, is just kind of okay. I mean, I like Aisha making amends with Kat, but aside from that, this episode just kind of felt as like setting up like future arcs, like establishing that Adam is very depressed over his condition. and kind of laying the groundwork for some drama that Rocky's going to go through a little bit later in the series.
Yeah.
But it's probably, but aside from that, it doesn't have much impact in and of itself. It's mostly just set up.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's interesting that Isa and Kat get sent to Bandora's ship to save Kat's family. I'm just kind of like, there's a point I'm going to make later on, but I want to get there first.
Yeah. But I would probably give this honestly, even though it's a setup, this probably feels like this honestly kind of feels like a standard Power Rangers episode. I mean, it literally ends with like people making amends and like an epilogue in the command center, and that's not a problem. I mean, it's still handled in the way that I would imagine this series would handle it. But yeah, I'm probably going to give this one an 8 just because it doesn't have it not. I mean, the worst episodes of this type of stuff would never go lower than an 8 for me. So I don't want to try to disrespect it. But yeah, it's mostly just a setup. I don't remember much standing out from it. So yeah, this is an 8 for me.
Yeah, we need these kind of episodes to keep the story moving. You can't have all action and all craziness all the time. You need some kind of relaxing episodes per se, where the characters are allowed to do things to build the next set of tension and next set of things that they have to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's nice that we're getting these break episodes where they can do stuff that's not just, it's morphin' time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also agree. This was a good setup episode. There was decent amount of action, but not like crazy action. If that makes any sense, you know. Like stuff still more or less stuff was still happening. It's just that, you know, with Kat and her family, and you know, so it was a good setup episode. So I'll give it I want to give it an 8 per se. I may give it like a 9.5 just to kind of like I didn't want to give it an 8 because I didn't feel like it was an 8. I didn't want to give it like a full 9 because it wasn't a full 9 either, you know.
That's fair. Yeah. What about you, Riz?
I think I'm going to go with an 8 for this for the same reasons you did, Nate.
Okay. Cool. All right, now we're going to move on to season 3's episode 3. I'm sorry, Seeing Red.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this is where it's
now we're talking.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff is gonna here. So, so Trini and Aisha are suspecting that Rocky and Jason are up to some stuff. I forgot to mention that so Aisha and Rocky are dating, and Trini and Jason are also dating, and they suspect that their boyfriends are up to something. So they approach Tommy to check them out. The beginning of this episode reveals that Rocky has secretly been engaging in late night vigilante justice. He's going out fighting gangs, drug dealers, and criminals under his Red Ranger guise. And Tommy discovers that Jason has been fighting in a hidden fight club after he gets a tip from Bulk and Skull. Tommy confronts Jason at the club. A drunken Jason goes off on Tommy, voicing resentment over Tommy being the leader and him having lost his powers. And he chastises Tommy for not allowing Billy to kill Zedd because then everything would be over. Tommy later discovers Rocky in one of his vigilante justice acts, and he stops him in battle and confronts Rocky on it. So Tommy and Rocky get into a fight, but then Bandora attacks the city with her new Tenga warriors. These were given to her from Vilius. And while Billy, Kim, and Adam get into a fight with Rito, Tommy, Rocky, and Aisha encounter Bandora, during which Rocky overpowers her after she tries unsuccessfully to steal the Rangers' new power. Rocky tries to kill Bandora, but Tommy stops him, and Bandora retreats. Rito also retreats. And when Tommy stops Rocky, it's revealed that the reason why Rocky is doing this, on top of him just, you know, having been kind of frustrated with the fact that their old counselor from the previous episode was killed in a gang fight, is that Rocky's whole thing is, well, I'm the Red Ranger now, and Jason was such a great ranger. Like, I have some really big shoes to fill, and I'm really trying to fill those shoes. Like that's generally his overall attitude, which I'll talk about that more in a little bit. Um, at the end of this episode, a huge fight erupts among the team. Everyone tells Rocky off for his action. Zordon demands Rocky surrender his power coin, but Rocky refuses. He voices his desire to take more offensive actions against Zedd because the battle will never be over unless they kill Zedd and Rita. Jason and Zach both voice support for him, and the three walk off. Aisha and Trini both tell their boyfriends off angrily. Tommy returns home, during which he expresses a desire to David to meet their birth parents, because earlier in the episode it was revealed David had been seeing their birth parents and is starting to move away from their adoptive family. Rita prepares to contact Count Dragon and requests that Lord Zedd be freed so they can join forces. She believes that she can't beat the Rangers unless she has Zedd's power. Couple of Easter eggs here. I did mention I do have the Zeo crystal listed here in the Easter eggs, but I kind of forgot that the Zeo crystal has already been established here. But two other cool, interesting Easter eggs. Jason's resentment of Tommy becoming the leader is, I kind of interpreted it as being an overt expression of what some fans have speculated was hidden resentment toward Tommy in the main series. Because one of Jason's most infamous lines in the Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, is, "Now I'm the one with the muscles and the power," while he was brainwashed by Divatox. So I'd imagine that this is more of an overt way of Jason expressing that resentment. And this episode marks the
The comics.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the comics actually kind of loosely talk about that too.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, because like they kind of get into it in like a physical fight. Small spoilers if you haven't read the comics yet. Please, fair warning to everybody who was listening. So, in the comics, after the crazy event that was Shattered Grid with Lord Draken, instead of Jason, Zach, and Trini actually going to a peace conference, they actually get new powers called the Omega Ranger powers. And they're joined by like a fourth member or whatever who's blue. Long story short, some events happen, and Tommy finds out that Jason, Zach, and Trini weren't actually at a peace conference, and he confronts them about it. And he's like, why didn't you tell us that you were actually doing this? Blah blah blah. And it was like, it's complicated. And the whole fight brings out, and they just talk about how like, oh, I thought you told me you want to leave this team or whatever. Like, why are you resenting me toward that, blah blah blah. And he's like, well, part of me did want you to lead the team, but part of me didn't. It's a lot of stuff. You got to read the comics to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I know some of that story about the Omega Rangers, as they're called, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know the whole deal about them, but I know a little bit about them.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually hoping that Karl would implement the Omega Rangers at some point in the season, but I'm kind of hoping he'll do it for next season now.
Hopefully. But one other minor Easter egg here. This episode marks the debut of this iteration's version of the Tenga Warriors. They're black and purple bird-like foot soldiers. They initially debuted in the non-canon 1995 movie. They were called Tengu Warriors. And then they got introduced into the main series in Mighty Morphin Season 3 as the new foot soldiers. And they pretty much look and act exactly how they do in the main series. I'm pretty sure they do talk here and there, and I'm pretty sure they were capable of intelligent speech in the main series. So
they were. In the main series, they could talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for Seeing Red. So what do we think about this one, guys?
Dude.
Go ahead, Anthony.
He made these Tengus some of the most fiercest things. Hearing freaking Jason getting his skin ripped apart by these things, it just. I was like literally wincing the whole time I was listening to that. I was like, God, it's like I'm actually there and I actually feel them just biting on somebody. Just and I just love the fact that like Rocky is being all vigilante and all that stuff. I was like, that's kind of what I wanted to see more in Power Rangers. I can only remember one time they did the whole like Ranger fighting against criminals was in one episode off the episode of Ninja Storm where Dutton was stopping some robbers from like robbing or no, it wasn't robbers. Couple of guys from like this, I guess that wanted to, I guess it was the store that Dustin works
Yeah,
at.
storm
Some guys
charges.
wanted to charges. I guess somebody wanted to buy it or whatever. Kelly, the owner or like the boss or whatever, she's like, "Oh, I'm not selling it. I'm not to you or whatever." They come back that night and try to sabotage the place, kind of like make her sell it. But Dustin morphs into the Yellow Ranger and scares them off basically.
Wasn't the guy who was the purple Dino Charge Ranger before Kindle? Didn't he also use his powers for that type of vigilante justice too?
Sure did.
Okay. But yeah, when I was listening to this, I told Jimmy when when just to kind of give him a little bit of a preview of what I was going to say in this, like I told him that Rocky was becoming one of my favorite characters in this, and this is kind of
Mine too.
this is kind of where I get, because I'll be honest, Rocky was good in season 2, but didn't really stand out. But like with this stuff, like this is amazing writing, and this is probably, in my opinion, the big highlight of season 3, because the whole idea of, I mean, first of all, the whole vigilante justice and like him wanting to do something good and not just fight aliens, but also help people that are in legit need. That's obviously pretty cool. Plus the fact that he's going all Batman on us by like going out at night. Um,
Right.
and using his ranger suit to like disguise his voice, that was pretty cool too. But just the idea that like he feels like he has to fill in big shoes for Jason, like that's something that I really wish that they did in Mighty Morphin, because the closest thing we got to like there being anything of like Rocky feeling like he had a bigger role to fill, or well anything in relation to Jason, was that episode of Zeo, after Jason has become the Gold Ranger, where Rocky kind of begins to feel that people are forgetting about him because Jason has joined. But even then, it's hardly touched upon that much. So to see Rocky now feel like, wow, Jason was such a great guy and I have such big shoes to fill, and how am I going to do this? That's a legitimate mental dilemma for him to go through, and it's handled perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I absolutely. This is where I'll be honest. The last couple of episodes, I mean, I was into it, but this is where I started to kind of get legitimately gripped, because I really loved the direction that they were taking with Rocky.
Oh yeah, and Jason too, because like I didn't expect Fight Club out of him. I was like, whoa, it's pretty cool.
I mean, I definitely think Rocky is my favorite character based on this episode, and I agree with everything y'all said. But I also think we need to put some respect on Jason's story and what he went through to get to where he is right now, because
Mm-hmm.
that that story and that rationale he gave Tommy for why he's doing what he's doing, bro, that is some heavy stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Heavy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's saying, like he went a long time in this series saying, after Chicago, I need a break. I need to slow it down. I need to stop. But he never could because, well, the world's burning around you. What are you gonna do? You can't stop being a ranger at that point in time.
Right.
So he finally gets a chance when they can't bring back powers for him. But and Jason's like, oh yeah, okay, this is the perfect chance for me to finally relax. And now we're starting to get into the psychological mindset of Jason, where he's realizing with all the free time he has now not being a ranger, that he has nothing else to really live for. He lost Chicago, he lost the family. All he has is a girlfriend and his friends, and that's it. I mean, he doesn't have anything else
Yeah,
to go back to. So for him to feel that gap in the way he did, that is huge. And him taking that gap and trying to fill it with fighting results in him wanting to become a Fight Club person, because it's the closest thing he can get to being a ranger again, where he can fight and it's okay to fight. Like, if he goes out in the street and fights people, he'll get arrested. But if he fights at a Fight
right.
Club, it's okay, because that's what the point of the club is, to fight. So that's a big thing for him. And then, like, also when Tommy said, "Well, why didn't you come to me and talk to me?" and Jason's like, "Because I didn't know what I wanted." And that's very true when you're going through, like, depressed and despair over the loss of your entire family in a case like that. You don't really know what you want until you get there, and then you're like, "This is what I need, but I can't have it anymore because you took it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for the next best thing." So this is really, really, really good writing for Jason. Like, the Rocky stuff is good.
I
Don't
honestly
get me
think that,
wrong,
like, a
but
part of him
I think,
still wants his powers, but he still needed an excuse to kind of like be not wanting to be a ranger for a while because he still was getting
yeah,
over his trauma.
but
But like part of him is like, dude, that's all I had was being a ranger,
And I kind of interpreted it as like, you know, not just like, being a ranger was all that he had left, but like it's more that like being a ranger distracted him from all the horrible things that happened to him. And now that he's no longer a ranger and, he no longer has that distraction, it's kind of now just starting to dawn on him, wow, he lost his home, he lost his family. Like, that I can't even imagine what what somebody would go through when it takes them, like when they've had this distraction and then they've all of a sudden, now it's starting to dawn on them, like roughly a year later, what all that they've lost. It's uh it's really dreary type of stuff.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, again, going back to Rocky, because I do want to touch on his journey, because that's also really important. Um, I don't necessarily care a lot about his feelings about, oh, I need to become more like Jason, the leader of the team. That part of the arc is good, but there's not much I want to dig into on that myself. But what I do want to dig into is what I said earlier, that there's that line in the sand that, these guys have been kind of following all this time, where it's only extraterrestrial threats that they go take care of, but not the typical drug lords and all that. And I think Rocky is correct in his desire to want to be basically a red Batman. Um,
Yeah.
but where he seems to not understand the problem in what Tommy is trying to tell him indirectly, because I don't think Tommy ever outright told him this, but Rocky cannot be a Batman and a Ranger, because he has to have some kind of balance between the Ranger life and a personal life, for reasons we'll get into in another episode later on.
Hmm.
Um, and it's very interesting how he doesn't balance that, and he wants to do everything because he's feeling hurt about losing the counselor. And it's not really about losing that one counselor, it's the realization he got of, man, if I use my power to save this guy, he'd still be alive to be my counselor today. Because remember, he didn't even know the guy. He had never really met him.
He didn't even know the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he still was like tearfully crying and stuff. And he wasn't crying because he had a deep connection with the guy. He was crying because he has the power, but he's still powerless.
Yep.
So that's a big story arc for Rocky. But in my opinion, Jason's arc is far more complex and really amazing to me. But I will say, Rocky throughout this thing is becoming one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, for sure.
Mine too.
Yeah.
And that's why I give this episode a 9.5 out of 10.
No, this is where I get my 10.
Oh,
This is why I get my 10.
Okay.
Dude, this was my favorite episode by far of the season.
Yeah.
then okay, I take that back. I'll give it a 10 because unlike Riz, like I actually have no problem giving multiple 10s per season. So yeah, I'll give it a 10 too.
10 bomb. Go, go, go.
Yep. All right, now let's move on to episode 4, The Assault. So there's a cold open to this episode. Rita has attacked Rutabaga. She's freed Zedd, and in the midst of the fight with the two, they're trying to kill him and destroy his forge. Ninjori dispatches a new guardian beast to Earth with a message before charging at the two. In a suicide attack, everyone is supposedly killed, and Vilius declares Goldar the new commander with that. On Earth, Jason, Rocky, and Zach, they meet with Agent William Mitchell, Captain Mitchell, to help plot their attack on the Empire's flagship. They receive help from a scientist named Angela. Rocky enlists Aisha's help. Aisha agrees on the conditions that Rocky ceases his vigilantism and they don't kill Rita but simply strip her of her powers. And the two are also made to work with Scorpina. Earlier in the episode, it was revealed that Scorpina had escaped police custody, but then she got captured by Mitchell after she got weakened by the Rangers. Scorpina has to fight due to her knowledge of the systems on the ship. Upon boarding the ship, the group gets into a fight with Goldar and Rito, and in the midst of the struggle, Scorpina sabotages the ship and severely damages the security system, but the team is forced to retreat before they can completely destroy the ship. Goldar also reveals to Rocky that Zedd and Rita are dead. Following their escape, Rocky and Aisha have to rush to Munich, Germany to help the other Rangers fight off a giant monster. In the midst of the fight, the Guardian Beast Ninjori sent joins the Rangers and helps them destroy the monster. In the aftermath, the Rangers are informed of the new Falcon Zord. That's what the Guardian Beast was called. And Ninjori tells them of the schematics of a final set of Zords that he's created for them. Rocky and Tommy get into another verbal fight. Rocky and Aisha having revealed what they did. Tommy tells Rocky off only for Rocky to call Tommy a coward, and then he walks off in a huff after Zordon tells him that the only reason that he still has his power coin is because of Tommy. Rita and Zedd, as the episode ends, they emerge from rubble on the Rutabaga. They survived thanks to a shield Rita created, and they prepare to kill a weakened Ninjori. A little bit of a side note here, just not a huge thing, but I still thought this was interesting. Following the Rangers' battle with Scorpina at the beginning of the episode, Tommy lashes out at the Rangers. It's revealed that his little sexual episode with Scorpina back in season 1 was really traumatizing for him, leading him to deal with serious PTSD due to his during his when he and Kim are doing stuff. And Scorpina, revealed to be alive, has caused those traumas to resurface. A couple of cool Easter eggs here. Mitchell reveals his previous jobs before his current were a naval captain and a firefighter before that, lining up perfectly with the backstory of his main series counterpart. He was a firefighter, and he saved Carter Grayson, a.k.a. the greatest man who ever lived, in a fire. And then
Damn right.
and then he became a captain in Lightspeed. His home is revealed to be in Mariner Bay. It's the home city of his main series counterpart season, Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. He works in a facility called Sector Omega, direct relation to the Omega Megazord from Lightspeed Rescue. The government scientist named Angela is an adaptation of the character Angela Fairweather. She's a scientist who in the main series works for Lightspeed, and she reports directly to William Mitchell, just like in the main series. This episode marks the debut of this iteration's version of the Falcon Zord, it being the next mech to debut lines up with the mech timeline of kakuranger, where its Sentai counterpart Tsubasa Maru is the second of the 3 god generals to appear. And finally, while bragging about where he got his armor from to Goldar, Rito mentions having beaten up Prince Gasket of the Machine Empire, canonizing the character of the same name for the main series in Power Rangers Zeo. So yeah, what do we think about this one, guys?
So I'll start off by saying when I heard Mitchell, I was like, wait, that's him. That's the guy. It's him. He's here. He's early, but he's here. So that was a pretty cool Easter egg they threw in. Because like I always knew that we had the bigger world of Rangers coming into the audio drama one day.
Yeah.
But to see the seeds of seasons way down the line, like this is what, 4 or 5 seasons later, I think.
Lightspeed Rescue was like season 8. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is like pretty far down the line from where we are right now. So it's pretty cool that we're laying the foundation here for that.
Yep.
And I just like the connection. And there's a really cool Easter egg. I don't know if you caught it, Nate, in a later episode that really got me excited later on.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, good. But yeah, I think this is pretty cool. The biggest takeaway for me in this really was, well, okay, so this is where I was going to make that comment I was talking about earlier when Isa and Kat went to the SIP. I feel like they end up being able to infiltrate Castle Bandora a lot more easily than they used to be able to. And I don't know how to feel about that.
I mean, it's just government. I mean, the government's able to do what the government's able to do.
Well, no, it's just like, shouldn't the Zedorians have, like, locked down a bit more closely?
Well, they could just be in disarray since everybody is kind of gone now.
Yeah, I mean, Goldar is in charge at this point, right? So.
Yeah, and Goldar isn't exactly someone you would call intelligent, even in this series.
Hey, I resent that.
Oh. Hey, Goldar, if you touch me one more time, you'll be chicken wings in the morning.
Hey, I like the pink one too.
I'll still know. I love how they got Kerrigan Mahan and
Yep.
Paul Freeman to do that little bit during Ranger
That
Stop and Pop.
That was one of the best reels to come out of Ranger Stop and Pop from 2024.
Ah, here comes the cute little pink ranger to the rescue. Oh, you think she's cute too, huh, boss? Touch me again and you'll be chicken wings in the morning.
Yeah, that was... I'll say it again, Nathan. That was a really fun time.
Yeah, it was. But the big thing that really just stood out to me was Tommy's little thing with Scorpina, which I know that's not going to come back huge for the rest of the season, but it's still, that was the part that really stood out to me for this episode. Enough to where, I mean, the rest of his stuff is pretty standard with, like, you know, a continuation of the arc, but it's still pretty good stuff with, you know, Tommy and Rocky having a little bit of a rivalry there. Definitely enjoy that.
Well, it's also nice to lay the foundation for more Zeo stuff, and I'm going to comment on that a little bit at the end. Like the end of the podcast, but this is setting the stage for Karl's ideas in the future, and I really like what we're doing here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we might start to sound like a broken record with some of these scores, but I really don't care. I would give this a 9.
Yeah, this is a 9.
Oh, that's definitely a 9.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, now we can move on to episode 5, Seduction of Power. So this picks up roughly 2 months after the previous episode. Tensions between the teens are incredibly high, even as everyone attends college orientation. Jason, Zach, and Rocky are separate from the rest of the crew. Kat is revealed to have enrolled at AGU. She had been released from witness protection. Adam is not coming home, and he's refusing to come home for his father's birthday. He's not talking to his parents because he's trying to keep his condition a secret to them. Rita and Zedd return to the Emperor's Wrath. It's revealed that the two got married on Rutabaga after taking out Ninjori. It's clear that they still hate each other, but they married strictly as part of a military alliance. Rita reveals to Vilius that with their marriage, she now has complete power over Zedd. They prepare to attack the facility where Scorpina is being held, as her being alive and not on their side poses a threat to them. When Adam shows up to David's house morphed, he collapses when he demorphs, and it's revealed that he's been morphing a lot more to be able to walk while engaging in harmful actions, and that's rendered him comatose because of all the power he's been using.
Quick correction: he lives in Tommy and David's house.
Right. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
So I have to say this, and I need to say this before we continue. So what you're saying is too much black energy is dangerous.
Yeah, for sure.
Anthony, once you go black, you can't go back.
Oh my god.
Dude, nice. Oh my.
But anyway,
remember, Adam was green before.
That is true.
So Rita and Zedd attack Scorpina's prison, and they unleash a monster in Lisbon to distract the Rangers. Tommy, Billy, Kim, and Aisha, they go after the monster with their new Ninja Zords. Rocky takes his Red Dragon Thunder Zord, which was, now the property of the U.S. government to stop Rita and Zedd. He promises Aisha that he won't kill them. Rocky gets overpowered by Rita and Zedd, but Adam arrives to save him. But the two are forced to retreat as they begin to weaken. Rita finds Scorpina and offers to take her back to her Empire's forces, and she agrees to. Rocky angrily tells Zoran off for taking them back, and then Rocky takes Adam, and the two join the Rangers. They combine their Ninja Zords to form the Mega Ninja Falcon Zord and destroy the monster, after which Rocky walks away from the team again. Scorpina is subjected to a trial by combat aboard the Emperor's Raft to prove her worthiness, and her opponent is Goldar, her ex-husband, who defeats her and then kills her promptly.
Oof.
Yeah. Tommy meets Kat at the end of the episode and attempts to tell her Rita and Zedd are alive, but then Rocky comes over to talk to them and a portal opens. It's revealed to be Lord Draken. He pulls all three of them into the portal. And a little bit of a side note, David gets fired from his job and decides to go live with his and Tommy's birth grandmother. And he has a flashback during which it's shown that he and Tommy's birth father abandoned them as kids as he left to go search for their lost mother. So a couple of things here. Rita and Zedd are revealed to have been married in this episode, lining up with them getting married in the main series in season 2 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The Rangers Ninja Zords make their formal debut here. Second set of mecha, lining up with the Cho Ninju, their Sentai counterparts, being the second set to appear in kakuranger. So the naming of these Zords is really inconsistent because in this episode they call them the Ninja. So Ninja Falcon Zord, Ninja Ape Zord, Ninja Frog Zord, etc., etc. Those are the names that the 1995 version had, but the 1995 movie had. But then in later episodes, they call them by their main series names, like White Falcon Zord, Red Ape Ninja Zord, Blue Wolf Ninja Zord, etc., etc. So, not sure. Maybe that just kind of got lost in the writing, which not a big deal. Just wanted to bring that up. But
Wait, are you saying that happened in this audio drama? That inconsistency?
Yeah.
I didn't even catch that. Wow.
Yeah. But the name of their final combination that they give him in this episode, the Mega Ninjas Falcon Zord, it's unique to this series. Because in the main series, it was called the Ninja Mega Falcon Zord, and in the 1995 movie, it was called Ninja Falcon Megazord. And finally, during the fight with the monster, Aisha says, "Boogie with the bear," And Riz just already made a reference to that catchphrase from the 1995 movie in this very podcast. So,
Look,
how
y'all.
else I can say that?
Look, y'all. All we gotta do is just get down and boogie with the bear.
Mm-hmm. So, what do we think about this one?
So, this is one of my favorite episodes, alongside Seeing Red, because Adam's like feelings and depression has hit such an all-time low that he's resorting to staying morphed all the time. And staying morphed for an extended period of time lets you not have the ability to have nutrients enter your body. And apparently, the morphing grid in this universe and in this telling actually drains your body the longer you're stayed morphed. So, all around negative consequences for him to do it. And I don't know, Anthony, if you've read Amy Jo Johnson's The Return comic, but
So far I've only read 2 issues of it. I need to get the rest of them, but I haven't because I've been trying to, save up the money and whatnot, so I didn't get a chance to really get them from my local comic store yet.
okay, so you're gonna get a minor spoiler. It's not even a big deal, but it's something interesting. In the Return comic by Amy Jo, they established that if you are the only one morphed for any period of time, like in the comic, you see early on Jason's morphed and he's fighting alone, doing his own thing. He draws the full power of the grid to him. But if all 6 of them are morphed, then they split that power into 6 for each of them to have their own share of it. So in other words, if no one's morphed, but except for one, he gets more power than if they're all morphed together. And so
okay.
I kind of wonder if with Adam doing this, that also exasperated the situation a little bit, if you consider that canon here, which it's not canon because it's not mentioned in here, but it is an interesting way to kind of further the damage Adam did to himself if he used that logic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also
Very interesting.
Also read the rest of the comic; it's really good.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So I'm curious about something. So given what I guess this is supposed to be like a alternate, reality in this audio drama. So does that mean that if Tommy is stuck in his Ranger form when he eventually becomes Dino Thunder Black, will that have more negative consequences now that this has been established?
Depends on how. Okay, so I think one thing we got to keep in mind here: these 3 seasons are deriving their powers from the morphing grid in a certain way. Lightspeed Rescue is all man-made. It's not mystical made like the coins are, kind of. Like the coins are made from
Right.
like magic and sorcery. But Lightspeed Rescue's coins come from science. So likewise, Dino Thunder's powers come from science as well. So I kind of wonder if they're going to have different rules apply to those type of seasons where those powers are made by man-made means rather than magical staff and wands and incantation type way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. I mean, even if they even adapt that Dino Thunder story, I mean, we got several years before they possibly
That
before
is
they
true.
do Dino Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, it took them 6 years to complete 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're looking at a long wait, but I have faith they're going to keep going for quite a while because these guys are extremely talented.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that they can continue. And also,
Yeah.
I'm going to take this moment right now to say, I'm not getting paid to make this announcement, but just something I feel from deep down in my own heart. If you are a fan of the audio drama like we are, and you're not already supporting the Patreon, you're able to do it, I highly recommend throwing a few dollars to these guys every month to help them out because that'll keep them going and able to continue making this content for us. And I'm already a patron. I support them. I give them, a cut. You can hear my name at the end of some of the credits at the end.
Yep.
So I think it's a really cool thing, and they do a lot of really good work, and it's by fans, for fans, and you gotta support them because the Hasbro Saban fiasco of like what's going to happen to Rangers now going forward is up in limbo, and so these fan projects need our love and attention more than ever.
Absolutely.
Big facts.
So, Karl, I know you didn't ask me to do this, but I'm doing it because I think you guys deserve it. So, y'all all go out, support them if you can on Patreon. I'll try and remember to put a link in the description so y'all can have an easy way to click on it. But if not, Google Scyther Audio Productions and you'll find it. And now back to our regular scheduled podcast.
But yeah, what do we want to give this one out of 10, guys?
I didn't even get to talk about the rest of the Adam stuff. So
okay, go ahead.
Hold your horses here, Nate.
Sorry about that.
He's like,
I think it's really telling that Adam is feeling a lot of psychological pressure and pain because he can't go home visit his family. He's basically alienated himself from everyone he loves, minus a couple of friends that he's Rangers with, and literally no one that's close to him even knows that he lost his legs and that he's in a wheelchair. So these are big things that Adam is dealing with. And then on top of all of that stuff, his best friend in the world is at odds ends with the Ranger team because of their difference in philosophy on how to handle general gang thugs and stuff. So Adam's at the lowest point he could ever be, I think, at this point. And I think that's a huge contributing factor to why he was using his Ranger powers to get a high of feeling his legs and being able to use them. And that's a real thing. Like, if you can get that quick sensation of doing the thing that you know you can't normally do, that is a way to get high without having narcotics into your system. It still gives you that rush of, I think it's called endorphin, if I remember correctly from biology, but I might be wrong on that term.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely giving you that rush. And it's really interesting that this has been touched on because, again, to me, Adam's storyline is something that you don't see a lot of in superhero media in general. Like, in the entire MCU, you don't really have a character who's been disabled like this, aside from Daredevil. But Daredevil's not really in the major MCU world. I can't think of anyone in the DCU or DCEU, or the Arrowverse for that matter, that's been really in that position. The closest we got in Arrowverse is Felicity, I think, Anthony. But she's not even a hero.
yeah, mm-hmm.
But she's
Yeah.
kind of there. So I think Adam's representation here is huge because it's much needed to help people identify with somebody somewhere somehow. And so for that reason, Nate, I'm going to give this my other 10.
I might save my 10, another 10 for this, but I'd still give it a 9.5 at least.
Oh, I'm not holding back on 10s tonight, so I don't really care.
Okay, cool.
I think I'm gonna give it a 9. Like I said, I do like Adam's storyline. It's fantastic. It's just, like a part of me is kind of like, I just want him to get his legs back. I'm just like, please just give him his legs back eventually. I need him to just be able to walk again.
I mean, I'm conflicted on that. Like, on one hand, it's like, okay, Adam could either go two ways. He could either get his legs back at the, some point in the future, or he can just learn to adapt and live with it and embrace it and find a way to make peace with it, which is also a very engaging and interesting storyline.
Yep.
So either way we go with Adam's story, it's going to continue being really interesting and engaging throughout.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're going to move on to episode 6, the coinless neck. Kind of picking up from where the previous one left off. So Tommy, Cat, and Rocky, they find themselves in Dracon's world, this which is called the coinless world. This is a world where Drakon reigns supreme. There are no Power Rangers. The device that would have allowed them to return home is destroyed. Rocky and Tommy try to fight him, but they get overpowered and they get forced to retreat when Kat gets injured. They search for help. They find an older version of Kim. She's donning a pink and black version of a ranger suit known as the Ranger Slayer. Then they encounter older versions of the rest of the team, all of whom are part of a resistance group to Dracon, led by an older Billy. The three agree to work with the crew to fight Dracon in order to find a way home. Rocky and Tommy, thinking that they might not actually manage to make it back home, they make amends. Tommy and Kat also share a moment where Tommy reveals he had a vision while he was in the morphing grid that they were married. Kat also makes friends with Rocky's girlfriend. Rocky, in this coinless world, a girl much younger than him named Tanya, because Aisha apparently does not exist in the coinless world. Tommy and Kat have a brief falling out as it's clear there's attraction between the two, and Kat tries to convince Tommy to, be with her because Kim has probably forgotten about him, but they make amends quickly. Ranger Slayer Kim joins forces with the group, and they get into a big fight. Tommy overpowers Draken, and he gets overcome with anger as Draken taunts Tommy over potentially killing his friends. And he destroys Draken's morpher, but then Rocky pulls him back before he can kill him. And following the fight, the group manages to repair the device to allow Tommy, Rocky, and Kat to return home. Tanya decides to join them. The episode ends as the group find themselves back home just seconds after being sucked into the portal. So some Easter eggs and references. This episode and its plot, Lord Draken's home coinless world, and the Ranger Slayer character. So here's the thing. I don't really know. I wouldn't have known about this at first, but then I did research on the Ranger Wiki, and I was able to get a general idea. These are direct adaptations of storylines taking place in the Boom Studios comics. I've read about like the Draken's coinless world and all that, which kind of makes me want to check out that comic line a bit
Dude,
more.
it's so
It's
good.
pretty good.
It's so good. You got to check it out.
Yeah. Tommy and Kat develop feelings for each other, kind of meshes with the storyline of their main series counterparts who eventually become a couple. This episode marks the debut of this universe's version of Tanya Sloan. She's depicted as being a person from Draken's coinless world, and her coming to the real world is kind of parallel to how her main series counterpart joins the Rangers, where she leaves her native home in Africa to join the Rangers in place of Aisha. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty cool to finally see Tanya because I really like the character of Tanya. But
It's just interesting that she's like from another dimension. It's like, oh, like that's how they're introducing her.
yeah, for sure. But I kind of want to, just to give my overall thoughts on this. This might be one of my more favorite episodes of the show because of this season. Because honestly, like I kind of want to hold back a little bit on saying this overall, but the stuff with this season has been great. But it just kind of feels like every episode, not entirely self-contained, but like it just kind of felt like there's drama with the Rangers, then a monster shows up and they have to defeat the monster, and then the episode ends. But while the villains are planning something here, this was a very unique episode. Like first of all, having to read about the whole stuff with the comics in order to be able to make notes of the Easter eggs and references they're making in this episode. It intrigued me to want to read a certain comic line, so it definitely did something right in that regard. And just some of the drama, like it was a very different episode, and this might be my favorite episode of the season. I really enjoyed this one. But what about you guys?
I loved it. I mean, this is a great episode, and I've read, I think, everything in the initial part one of the Draken storyline in the Boom Studio comics. I don't think I finished everything, but I am fairly deep into it from when I did my read a couple of years ago. And so seeing how they adapt that story and making it their own here is really awesome, because obviously this is not a one-to-one relation of like how the story is in Boom and how it is here. But how they adapted the elements is really awesome. And I'm going to pose a question to y'all and see what y'all think. Do you think that the Ranger Slayer helmet is pterodactyl or crane?
I obviously know it's pterodactyl because I've seen how it looks in the
Well,
comics.
no, I'm talking. I know that's in the comic, but how is it in the audio drama? Like, at what point did Kimberly become the Ranger Slayer in that universe?
They never specified it.
He didn't specify.
I was gonna say that this. I could have sworn it might have happened during the stuff with Tommy's brother, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a small little thing that I was kind of wondering, like, wonder what helmets he has on for this outfit in this version of it. It could be the pterodactyl, but it may not be.
Yeah, I never actually thought about that.
Oh,
either.
Actually, you know what?
and
It might actually be pterodactyl, because I think Billy had the Triceratops coin, right? Like smashed.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So that would make sense.
Oh, so it was. I don't know if we had talked about this yet or not, but it was actually Draken was the one that was telling Rita about stuff from that was going to happen
Yeah.
in That's how she knew what things were going to happen.
Yeah, Draken was the one leaking
'Cause she
the
got
info to her, to him,
Yeah.
her, yeah. Which is a really cool thing to have planted, somewhere in season 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Because it's very interesting because they technically do work together in the comics too, believe it or not.
They do. For a little while, until Seattle is repurposed in Slice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's really cool what they did here. I understand why Tommy and Kat did what they did, like in terms of Tommy confessing the dream, Kat trying to make him commit infidelity with her against Kim. But I gotta say, I was not the biggest fan of that in general.
Me neither.
I mean, I found it I get what you're saying, but I think it kind of makes Kat's character just a little interesting because I don't know, like the thing about the whole drama between Tommy, Kimberly, and Kat, and you can't even call it a love triangle technically because there was no drama in the main series. Like the closest thing we got to drama was that Kat shows up in season 3 and she's under a spell from Rita and she has a crush on Tommy. And they do it a little bit in Changing of the Zords where like her having resentment over Tommy and Kim's relationship is kind of what fuels a little bit of a rage. But aside from that, like after Kim leaves the team, like it's more. I mean, you could probably hint that maybe Kat was just kind of waiting patiently until Tommy and Kimberly broke up, and they eventually do in the most infuriating way in Zeo. But just the fact that there's a little bit of drama there, I get that you don't like how it's handled, but honestly, there being kind of a bit of a love triangle there, I kind of liked it a little bit.
Well, okay, so I like the drama of it, don't get me wrong, but I'm not certain how I feel about the relationship for a long-term thing, because if you listen to the Dino Thunder spin-off episode that they released before season 3 came out, I think, I might be wrong on when it came out, it's shown that Kat is still married to Tommy in the future when Dino Thunder is going on. So that shows that the relationship does go somewhere in the future, and eventually Kat does marry him. And Alex Drake also references that in the episode that he came in last season.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it just kind of feels wrong.
Forced.
Wrong
Oh,
that the relationship technically begins with a call for infidelity. It just doesn't give the good foundational beginning of a relationship that should be standing the test of time.
Yeah, and I think that's fair enough.
I'm not saying this is bad writing. I'm just saying it could lead to further drama in their relationship. And I mean, if you listen to that episode from the Dino Thunder era that they released as a bonus, you do see that Kat and Tommy do have some problems in their marriage when it comes to Tommy and the powers.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all listened to that episode or not, but I did.
Well, I didn't, but
Okay.
I neither.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, and not only that, but here's another problem. I mean, people who are listening to this who are fans of the main series, well, here, as much as I disagree, it's still kind of a reality that most fans do not like Tommy and Kat together, and they hate Kat because she took Tommy away from Kimberly and all that. Kat doing stuff like this is not exactly going to change people's already unhealthy opinions of her if you do stuff like this.
Okay, so I'm gonna come out and
Right.
just say it. I think I am more into Kat Tommy
Oh,
camp.
me too. But
That is my personal sip. I don't care what people say. I will say though, while I like the Tommy Kat pairing in the main series, I absolutely adore the Kim Tommy line in the Return comic series, in the alternate telling.
oh yeah, for sure.
So it just depends on how the story is written and what's going on. And in this case,
True.
as of right now, in the audio drama world, I'm still kind of reeling from the Kim Tommy thing. So I think I'm still firmly a Kim Tommy fan for this timeline.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think about scoring on this one?
I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. Because it really just stood out to me, and yeah, I've already kind of said everything that I need to say. That this episode was just awesome.
Yeah, and it also gave me flashes of what was it was similar to the comics, but it wasn't the exact the same what's the word for it? It wasn't the same plot line. It was a little bit different, but it was similar, but it was a little different.
Yeah.
In actuality, it was actually Tommy and Billy who get stuck in the Colin's world.
Yeah. I remember that. I will also...
I guess because it makes sense because Tommy and Rocky were going through their little issues or whatever, and I guess sitting into the Colin's world and having them be stuck there for weeks on end kind of made it seem they had to sort the differences out somehow. So I guess putting them in a situation where they had no choice but to work together for a while to kind of get them to work together for once.
Yeah. Also, I do like that they allow Billy to be the leader of the future resistance group, because in my opinion, Billy was the leader of the Once and Always group, and he's also going to have a much bigger storyline in this audio drama, but we're not going to get into the details of that until the finale.
Yep.
So I do like all that as well. Anthony, what do you say you gave this score?
What did I give it? I didn't want to give it a 10 per se. There were maybe one or two issues I had with it. Well, obviously, I had it. Obviously, it's the whole thing with Kat and all that. The second thing I want to say is that I was it's not bad that they have Tanya here. It's just I just kind of wish that she was in the regular universe. They had to go all this way out just to get this one person. You know what I'm saying? It's just I feel like they could have maybe done it a little bit better, a little bit differently. But that's just my opinion. I'm not hating it. I just wish that it was a little different.
I don't actually mind Tanya being introduced in this way. I thought it was a unique way because, I mean, okay, so the way Tanya is introduced in the main series is basically, if you really want to get technical about it, Tanya does come from an alternate reality because when the timeline sifts around and all that, the world that she comes from no longer exists in this prime timeline anymore. It's in an alternate timeline. So,
It's
same
true.
concept here. So I don't mind what they did. They actually made it more interesting because, no offense, but just being a village girl in Africa taking care of animals is a little bit less interesting than being a badass resistance fighter 20 years in the future who's able to come back to the past to live her life like a normal girl because she wants to.
That's true. Oh, did anyone notice that like Aisha's voice actress had changed for this season?
Did
Why
it?
is that?
Did it?
Yeah,
I hadn't even noticed. I don't know.
because she sounded a little bit more. I guess I don't know. I'm trying to think how she had a little more calmer in the second season when we introduced her. Obviously, here it kind of feels like she's being played by somebody else. I'm not saying that this actress is bad by any means. She just I don't know. She sounded kind of nasally in my personal opinion. I would not be like, oh, I hate this. It's just I'm like, I miss the old miss the old voice, but it's fine though. It's not like I like this actress is doing a bad job or anything. It's just that I can kind of tell when someone sounds different.
Yeah, I didn't notice that, honestly. I don't know, Nate, did you?
I didn't.
Yeah, I had no idea.
But I wonder if like the reason why they changed it, maybe this actress is playing Tanya now, and that's probably why they changed actresses, I guess.
I mean, it could also be that she got busy with another acting gig as well. That's possible because
That's usually what happens too.
you got to remember that these actors that are doing the audio drama, to the best of my understanding, and I'm sure Karl might correct me when we bring him onto our podcast after we do this thing. But it's my understanding that the actors that are doing this are doing it for fun. There's no money involved. So, but they're also all SAG registered for the most part. So if it
Right. I did forget that. That was my
they are
bad.
professionally actors, so they might have gotten another gig that pays them. So they may not have time to continue doing this free fan production instead.
That's true. Yeah.
Which is why we had that little break when the writer's strike was going on last year. Is because a lot of these guys that are in the audio drama, they didn't want to lose their chance for other work and break the union guidelines by continuing to do the Power Rangers audio drama while there's a strike going on.
Right.
Which I totally support, by the way, if it hasn't been clear from every other podcast we did during that time period.
Yeah. Do we want to move on to episode 7 now, guys?
Do it.
Yes.
All right. Episode 7, One Last Trip. So.
Yep. I do give this a 10, by the way.
Yeah. Cool. The 6 Rangers for the fall. So the fall season is upon us. The 6 Rangers, Jason, Trini, Zach, and Kat, they all go on a vacation to cabins owned by Tommy. As the 3 leave, it's revealed that Jason and Trini are back together. Aisha is still refusing to get back together with Rocky, despite his advances. The 3 former Rangers all announce at the cabin that they're leaving Angel Grove to study abroad in Switzerland because Jason believes that being so close to the Rangers is having an effect on his mental health and he needs time to heal. And Zach and Trini want to accompany him, and they've chosen Switzerland since it's far away from most alien attacks. Kim is devastated, but the 5 original Rangers all make promises to remain friends. Kim and Jason and Trini and Billy, 2 would-be couples, also share a moment together. While Kat is talking with Aisha, she reveals what happened in Draken's world, and unfortunately Kim overhears this and goes off on Kat and Tommy, and she forces Kat to leave the cabin, Jason taking her home. And despite getting into a fight with each other, Tommy and Kim ultimately make amends. The following morning, the Rangers are called away from a hike. The Zedorian Empire is coming under attack by the Machine Empire's forces, led by Prince Gasket. The Rangers are sent to Zedd's flagship to free Ninjori. And in the middle of the fight, the Rangers are able to free Ninjori and retreat, while Rita and everyone else is forced to retreat as the Machine Empire takes down their ship. The episode ends as the Rangers bid farewell to their former teammates. Rita, Zedd, Villius, Skoldar, and Rito arrive in Australia. They're preparing to take over the city of Sydney to bolster their forces against the Machine Empire. And Gasket vows to destroy Zedd's forces, his family, the, um, his family's, sorry, kind of lost my train of thought there. His families, whose heads were mounted on the wall of their ship as trophies for Zedd's defeat of them, they start rebuilding themselves. And Tommy and Kim make amends, vowing to stay together. Couple of Easter eggs and references. Jason, Trini, and Zach leaving for Switzerland matches with their main series' counterparts' departures from the show. All three of them left the team to attend a peace conference in Switzerland in the main series. This is the full debut of the Machine Empire with Prince Gasket, previously mentioned in another episode, making his on-screen debut. And their foot soldiers, Cogs, also make their debut here. And Gasket's ship is called the Venjix. This name is a reference to the character General Venjix, the main villain of the Power Rangers Wild Force episode Forever Red, which celebrates the 10th anniversary of Power Rangers. The character, whose suit was actually a reused suit of the Shadow Borg from Big Bad Beetleborgs, was depicted as a general in the Machine Empire. So, yeah, what do we think about this one, guys?
It would help if I mute the mic, wouldn't it, Nate?
Yeah.
I was talking and I was like, oh, wait, nobody's responding. What the hell? Then I was like, oh, should probably press that little button. Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't catch the reference for Venjix until just now. That's interesting.
I didn't either. Man, I listened to this thing twice.
Yeah. I listened to it at least 2-3 times at this point. But, yeah, I thought this was a good episode to, like, help transition out Jason, Trini, and Zach. It also gave some more drama for Kimberly, Tommy, and Kat that they'll have to work out throughout the rest of the season. But ultimately, there isn't a lot of note in this one that I really want to go into a lot of detail on myself, so I'll let you guys talk more.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty good. I really like how they're handling Jason, Trini, and Zach's departure. Some might say that this could be a little, this might be a little anticlimactic way to kind of end the drama that started with Jason, but I think it works perfectly well. I mean, you don't really have Jason, Trini, and Zach's whole roles in the show appear to have largely been kind of fulfilled. And, they were let go in the main show. So, there's no problem with just kind of, giving them an into their journey here. And I love the moments that they have where they, share some moments with their previous Rangers, like the fact that they all kind of come together and say, "Hey, we're the OGs, and nothing's ever going to stop us with that."
Yeah.
That would have been nice if that was how Jason, Trini, and Zach actually left the main series. Although, if Saban hadn't just been a complete cheap ass and actually paid those actors what they were worth, Jason, Trini, and Zach probably wouldn't have had to leave the show at all to begin with. But that's not how reality worked it out.
Austin St. John did express regret at the Mighty Morphin panel at Rangers Top and Pop this year about not sticking around for the movie because of the popularity that the entire franchise got after that.
Yeah, so, but at the same time, you can't blame them for.
Oh no, I don't blame them at all for leaving. Yeah, I think they did the right thing.
This show was super popular, and you might as well be, who the popular characters on the show might as well be getting paid the same amount of money that a McDonald's drive-through worker makes. Like, no.
As someone who formerly works at McDonald's yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
And now I will say, given we're at this point now in the podcast, hey Karl, given we don't see these three characters again, can we just assume that they went to Switzerland? And by went to Switzerland, I mean they became the Omega Rangers and they'll come back next season or something? Because that'd be really cool.
Well, we have to see how they're going to handle with Jason and the Zeo thing too.
I mean, yeah, we do. I had a
That's
witty
true.
comment,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna make it later.
Yeah, I was wondering if like how they would handle like his character in Zeo, because as we know, he comes back in Zeo and
Yeah.
temporarily becomes the Gold Ranger in that one. I'm kind of curious how they're going to do it, this
Yeah,
time
it's
around.
gonna be interesting to see. I have my thoughts on what they're gonna end up doing, but I cannot really comment until we get to the end on what I think will happen.
But go ahead.
But something I do want to say, I want to echo Nate that I think it's really nice to see the original five have their moment to talk and give their not final goodbye, because they do have a thing in the next episode where they go to the airport. But it is nice to see that little bit of kindling of the five of them to be like, yeah, we're the OGs, we're sticking together, we're the ones that started all this stuff, like that's pretty awesome to me. I do think that this is more of a setup episode rather than something huge, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, this is an 8 out of 10.
I want to give this one a 9 just because I love the moments that the OG Rangers share. Plus, here's the thing: I was out having dinner by myself because my wife was out at a party. I was eating dinner while listening to this thing, and then that moment where like Kim is revealed to be like listening to what Kat and Aisha said. I was in a public place, so I literally had to like really hold myself back from saying like, "Oh shh," like like
Yeah.
that really hit me. When an episode does something like that, it definitely does something right. That's why I have to give this at least a 9.
No, I get that. I can respect where you're coming from with that. It makes sense. I kind of saw that drama coming in the near future.
Yeah.
I will say, my favorite part of this episode is when Zach is like, "Hey, let me go run up and get the two quarreling lovebirds real quick," and then he comes back down like, "Oh, they've made up," and everyone starts laughing at them.
Yeah, that was awesome.
They made up really, really good.
They're up
Oh,
there.
another
Nah, hang on.
doing the dude.
They're up there getting to know each other real well.
Yeah,
In the biblical sense.
They're morphing well.
Oh God.
Oh Lord.
No, tell me how Zach has the best lines in this whole entire thing, because at some point they were talking about how like they were leaving or whatever, and I guess no, Jason had his one-on-one with Kimberly, and Billy had his one-on-one with Trini, and he's sitting there, he's like, "Man, I ain't got no like love interest in my little thing. I'm gonna find Tommy."
Let's do a time off to have a heart to heart.
Right.
No, like legitimately, I think Zach, you're right, Anthony. He has some of the best quips in the entire series. Not even just this season, but I'm gonna go back to season 1 here because that scene will never not be funny to me, and I think you already know what I'm gonna say.
Say
Anthony.
the line, Riz.
Mastodon, get your ass down here now.
Yeah.
I love
that. That line. Me and Anthony were in a private DM talking about that line, laughing our asses off.
Yes.
And honestly, it was moments like that in season 1 that got me so hooked. Because
it really did though. I'm gonna miss Zach because he was honestly my favorite. He was honestly the reason why I even like really listened to it at first. But it was him and Jason at first. I love the delivery lines of Jason's actor in this. He's so good at this. He sounds like freaking Austin St. John. Yeah.
And Zach has that same type of like sarcasm and way of talking too, I think,
Yeah.
So no, I think this is really good. Trini's voice actor is amazing. but they don't share too many resemblances with Thoi's actress. With Trini's actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tui.
Yeah, so definitely think this is pretty awesome. But yeah, I'm going to go with an 8.5 for this. I'm
And
going to bump it to
Anthony?
5.5.
I'm gonna give it a 9 just because it made me laugh. This episode made me laugh
Yeah.
a bunch of times, and the drama with Kim and Kat, obviously, like I kind of wanted that in the show, but I'm glad I got it here. So
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we're going to move on to kind of a halfway episode. This episode was actually written by, it was a side episode, but it still plays a little bit of the plot, written by the people who voice David and Tommy. It's episode 7.5, Heart of Thunder.
Their names are Zoe Sorless and David Sorless, by the way.
Okay, yep.
yeah, they're brothers in real life
Yeah.
too.
Oh, that's awesome. So Tommy accompanies David on a trip to explore his roots. David is now an officer for the BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and he wakes up Tommy as the two prepare to visit their their birth grandmother. As they're driving, a flashback shows that their adoptive parents, whose names were Tony and Marie, uh, they were having a moment with the two where David was still adopted when he was still like part mostly a little bit more cognitively developed, so he always had trouble calling Tony and Marie mom and dad as a child. But Tony and Marie were friends with the True Hearts, Tommy and David's birth parents, and their mom, Layla, disappeared a few days after Tommy was born. And their father, Peter, was forced into a mental state where he became obsessed with finding her. And David was often left to take care of Tommy. And then one day, it was shown in a flashback that David had in an earlier episode. Peter left and never came back, and the two were adopted by Tony and Marie as a result. And Tony actually died of cancer prior to the events of the series. Tommy begins to feel guilty that he may be responsible for not just killing Marie, but also the disappearance of their birth parents. Given how he was born shortly before that. But David assures him it was not his fault. Then they arrive at their grandmother's house in Arizona, and they encounter their birth father, Peter. Earlier in the episode, revealed that Peter had finally given up looking for Layla, suspecting she was taken in human trafficking and wants to reconnect with his sons. David protests, but Tommy still catches up, and ultimately the two brothers make amends with their father, but David still has some reservations. And the episode ends with Tommy and David heading back home. Tommy has a nightmare that he and David are attacked by King Mondo killing David. But Tommy is also afraid that this might actually be a vision of the future. So a couple of things. Tommy and David's adopted father's name is Tony Oliver, the same name of one of the producers of the original Mighty Morphin Power Ranger and his Power Rangers, and his name also was an etymology of Tommy's name in the main series. And Tommy's vision marks the full on-screen debut of King Mondo, leader of the Machine Empire. His description matching his appearance in the main series. So yeah, what do we think about this little short detour episode, guys?
I thought it was very much needed and not really much of a detour because we needed more backstory on the True Heart family. And so having an episode dedicated to at least getting a glimpse into life under reserve, getting a chance to see the father return gives David's character much needed closure that he's been needing for quite some time. Plus, it gives us a lot more insight into David's psyche as a whole because, Tommy is not nearly as angry at the world as David is. And we've been talking about it from in this podcast even today. And it's nice to see a reasonable reason for why he's got so much anger built up and self-doubt. And it's because he was old enough to understand that his dad left him and his mom's gone for whatever reason. And, that type of thing will scar a kid for life. And so seeing the backstory makes his adult life that much more meaningful and sad for him, to see it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's true.
And honestly, I found the whole story with the True Hearts to be a very interesting thing. Like the whole, Peter. I don't know. It. I don't know. I don't think they go into much detail or any detail at all about like Tommy and David's birth parents in the main series, but just the whole idea of like his father abandoned them as kids because he was so obsessed with looking for his wife. Like it. I don't know. That's some very deep stuff where it's really messed up, but it's also pretty powerful stuff to like see them ultimately like, seeing how Tommy is affected by this and how they're ultimately able to kind of come to terms with their father to some extent. Like pretty powerful
Yeah.
stuff.
I do know that in the comics, we do see Tommy's mom. And I think they established she adopted him, but it was just her and him. It wasn't David wasn't the picture, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I didn't read that far into it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
This was like the first issue. This was like the first 1 or 2 issues of the first Mighty Boom Studio comics.
Then I've forgotten everything I ever thought I knew.
Oh. She only appeared like maybe once or twice or whatever. So
I still forgot.
now you're good. And she's not dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a 9.5 out of 10 for me.
9.5 for me as well.
Yeah, I'll give it 9.5 out of 10 too.
What about you, Anthony? What are you going to give this?
9.5 out of 10. You hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
All right, so now we move on to episode 8, The Siege of Sydney. The episode opens as Jason, Zach, and Trina. They all bid farewell to the Rangers at the airport. Jason makes amends with Tommy, and everyone has a tearful goodbye before they leave. Rocky speaks with Mitchell, telling him he made amends with the team and can't work with him anymore. Mitchell angrily tells him off and insists he try to talk to the team into helping him still. Ninjori tells Adam he may not be able to fix his power coin and restore his legs. And that causes Adam to decide he just wants to adjust to his new life as a cripple and move into Jason and Zach's old apartment. Rita and Zedd attack Sydney, Australia. The Rangers are alerted and engage in an all-out battle with Rita and Zedd's forces, with Rita, Zedd, and Goldar soon joining the fight. In the midst of the fight, the Red Dragon Thunderzord, which is commanded by one of the former Shadow Rangers, Maxwell, it emerges and open fires, severely weakening Rita and Zedd. The fight continues, and Rita and Zedd weaken. Infighting begins to occur with the Zedorian Empire. As Zedd is freed from Rita's control, Rita uses her power to make Goldar and Rito grow to distract the Rangers, while she and Zedd go after the Zeo Crystal to recharge their powers. The Rangers use both the Mega Ninja Falcon Zord and Shogun Megazord to fight off Goldar and Rito. It proves to be a tough battle for them. Rita and Zedd find the Zeo Crystal and make an agreement to where Rita uses a powerful crystal to recharge Zedd's power, powering him up immensely. The Rangers combine the Falcon Zord with the Shogun Megazord to form the Mega Shogun Falcon Zord, and they defeat Goldar before all three Megazords prepare to take down Rito, but then a recharged Rita and Zedd appear. They are now more powerful than ever. Rita enlarges Zedd, and he goes after the Megazords. He easily overpowers them all. The Red Dragon Thunderzord is destroyed, although Maxwell is able to eject. Zedd turns on to the other Megazords, and their Rangers are forced to retreat. And with the city of Sydney having been evacuated, Zedd takes on a new throne as Sydney is taken over by his forces. He kills Rito to kind of make an example, and he pretty much forces Rita and Vilius to kneel before him and, and then retake the Emperor's wrath from the Machine Empire. He sets his goals on doing that. The episode ends as Tommy angrily fumes at the Rangers' defeat. Zedd contacts the Rangers, vowing he will kill them one by one, and it ends with him revealing the Rangers' identities to the public.
Okay, so I'm gonna start off by saying my anxiety was through the roof when he started naming their
I was
names.
like,
Yeah.
Also, I really didn't want Rito to die. He was just so great, and he had so many one-liners that I loved so much, and his entire persona, like, I didn't really think about it until I was listening to the after show, but somebody on the after show, the finale, said Rito is actually the most responsible of the Moon Crew in this season. And when they explained the reasoning, I was like, damn, you're kind of right about this. Because while Rito is seen as a goofball, he's the one who's like, hey, let's go kill him in their homes, or let's go kill him now because I'm bored. But he's saying he's bored, but he's also making a really good point of, we know where they live, let's go kill them. Hey, we know where they are, let's go kill them. Hey, why don't we kill them? They're right in front of us right now, let's do it. Like, he's always the one who's like trying to be responsible in the evil way. And I think that's really awesome for him. And just in general, Nathan Marchand is a phenomenal Rito, and I loved having him on the show. And it was so amazing listening to him here and in the Power Trip, and even our own Godzilla -1 podcast that we did here on Toku Secrets. If you haven't listened to that yet, go listen to it. There is a little cameo by our friend Rito Bandora at the end that you're gonna all love.
Awesome.
But yeah, I also do like the Zeo crystal deal that they made, and how Rita has put a lock on it.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's pretty sneaky.
But yeah, for me, this is just kind of a very typical, like, beginning of an in-game arc type of episode. Still pretty good though. And the ending was kind of where it gripped me a lot. So yeah, I mean, not much else I can say here. I mean, I did love the beginning where, we get to see them like have their little goodbye, nice, cute little moment. But yeah, that's all I have to add for this episode with my thoughts.
Yeah, Anthony.
Oh wow, this was a lot, and they're revealing their identities in that regard, and Rito dying. I thought that when he stabbed him, I thought he was just gonna like have morally wound him for a while. Like, you can shut up and stop calling me by my freaking name. I'm gonna kill you for real if you keep on. But no, like, he actually killed him. But yeah, this might actually lean into some things that happened in Zeo, because you remember Rocky did the vigilante stuff, against the gangs or whatever. So if the gangs find out that the guy that did this to him was a guy by the name of Rocky Zedd, it's like, wait, whoa, I knew that name. Like, wait, that name sounds familiar. Wait a minute, that might be the guy that beat us up or whatever, and that could lead to his family getting hurt or whatever because of that.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I'll probably give this one this is a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, that's still a 9. I was tempted to drop a point because they killed Rito, but I'll let them.
Don't worry, man. I miss him too, buddy. I miss him too.
Yeah.
And Anthony, what are you giving?
Well, like Riz, I was giving like a lower number because of that, but I'll still give it a 9 though.
Okay, cool.
I will say, whenever Nathan gets around to releasing the Rito one-shot thing he's talking about doing, we're gonna review that separately, just to bring Nathan on here to review with us, and hopefully have Rito visit.
Cool.
Also, Nate, if you and Nate get on the same podcast, you might have to fight to the death. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. I'm just here to enforce.
There can only be one.
Yeah.
All right. Well. All right. Let's move on to episode 9. No, going back. Yeah, I don't know what else I could say about that, but
Yeah,
but
there's no going back from you having to fight him. I get it, man. I get it.
yeah, whatever. um, so picks up from where the previous one left off. Zedd commands Rita to go after the Rangers' parents as a distraction. The Rangers all have emotional phone conversations with their families. They rush to save them. Rita goes after Rocky's family, but he's able to rescue them just in time and get them to the command center. Billy gets his family to safety, as does Kim with her mother. But while Tommy is trying to save Kim's father, he runs into Rita. He hits Jonathan just before they teleport away and severely injures him. Kimberly shares one last moment with her dad before he dies, causing everyone to become overcome with grief. Tommy is guilty, but he wasn't quick enough, and Kimberly is, of course, sad because her dad just died. Um, Everybody else arrives with their families in the command center. Adam is still not ready to reveal his condition to his parents, and Kim vows vengeance on Rita. At the Hillard home, Rita has killed Kat's entire family. Kat has been beaten, bloodied, and prepares to kill her, but the Rangers arrive just in time to stop her. They engage with Rita's Tengas while Tommy and Kim go after Rita, stopping her before she can kill Kat. As Tommy confronts Kat, a vengeful Kim goes after Rita personally, but she gets beaten miserably. The other Rangers arrive, and Rita teleports away to retreat. Kim chases Rita and gets taken away. As Kim is taken aboard the Emperor's raft, she is imprisoned in a force field, but is freed by Vilius in the middle of a struggle where Zedd tries to kill Rita. Um, Vilius leaves the ship with his daughter. Vilius leaves the ship and leaves his daughter to fend for herself. Kim gets teleported away. She grabs Rita, dragging her into the command center with her. And Rita is disarmed of her magic objects and corners her, ready to kill her. But before she can, it's revealed Vilius, who's determined to defeat Zedd due to his becoming out of control, as well as to get revenge for Rito. He's already at the command center. He made a deal with the Rangers to help them defeat Zedd on the condition that Rita is allowed to live. Kim reluctantly agrees to spare Rita, though she destroys Rita's magic ring and staff. Adam reveals his condition to his family. He realizes that despite losing his legs, he still has them, and his entire family unites. Tommy speaks with Kim, and she voices her doubt over her ability to be a ranger. And the episode ends with her promising that she'll give up being a ranger after Zedd is defeated. So, yeah, pretty heavy stuff, guys. Pretty par for the course here, though. What do we think about episode 9?
Oh my god. Dude, okay, like, we lost Rito last episode. We lose Jonathan this episode. There's a lot of death going around here, man.
Mm-hmm.
And, while Rito's was kind of sudden, Jonathan's had a huge impact on me. Like, I was driving somewhere. I don't know where I was driving to at the time, but when I heard Jonathan get stabbed, I did a double tick of my screen on my car at Spotify, and I was like, no, you're going to do something later to bring him back. And, well, I'm sorry to spoil it for y'all, but he doesn't come back.
Yeah.
And Kimberly's grief is so big that I just felt so much pain for her character at this point. I was like, man, this really
Same here.
sucks. And then, Tommy grieving with her, and then later having to grieve with Kat when Kat's family's dead. I mean, that's also huge. Like, this episode is a bloodbath. Like, are we sure Karl's not like related to George R. Martin or something? Because dear God,
It feels like it, don't it?
and when we get to later parts of this podcast, I'm going to say it again. That's all I'm going to say for right now, though, about that little part. But yeah, I mean, this is really heavy stuff. The level of emotion we're having in these episodes far outweighs stuff we've had in the past so far, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, the way when Jonathan died, I'm not gonna lie to you, it honestly hurt because we've known this character since season 1,
Yeah.
mind you. He was the first one to figure out, oh, his daughter's a Power Ranger, and the rest of her friends are Rangers during the Green with Evil arc. You know, he was trying to be the best dad he could be by saying, hey, like, I don't want my daughter in this mess or whatever, since Rita is, not no longer doing anything or whatever, then yeah, she shouldn't be a Ranger. Bye. Like, as a parent, you kind of empathize with that. You kind of empathize with how you want your kid fighting a battle that isn't theirs to fight. And like
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like, and then also killing off Catherine's parents after like almost 2 different times where they could have died before. I'm just like, you didn't have to kill those parents off, man. You had to kill that little boy off too. Like, what? Come on now. That was just cruel.
I mean, that just goes to show Rita means business. Like, it's been established several times before, Rita is not somebody we're trifled with. And, honestly, they've had chances to kill Rita and to kill Zedd, and they've always tried to take it a high road. And I don't know, maybe they shouldn't be taking that many high roads.
Look where it got him. And look where it got him.
Yeah. I will say in the go ahead.
No, I don't necessarily think that what Rocky had said was initially bad, but like, I guess maybe killing them in self-defense, if they're trying to kill me, then like, if I happen to kill them, not wanting to kill them, but they leave me no choice, I'm gonna do it. If it's up to me, like, if I'm I'm not like actively, I'm gonna defend myself. If it comes down to like, I'm not gonna be like out of my way to actually kill them, with their disarm, whatever. But they leave me no choice but to kill them. I'm gonna kill them, regardless. Like, that's just me. If I was a ranger, I'm gonna take the steps. If hey, this villain's doing this, bam, you're dead. Like, I can do the rules or whatever, but fine. But like, I'm trying to win the battle, not like, we can't keep letting these mugs get away and they keep doing all this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, Jonathan's death. I mean, it helps how Jonathan was kind of an established character already. But yeah, his death, I was genuinely like kind of hit pretty hard when that happened. I mean, imagine if like, in Time Force, like Mr. Collins, who's already been an established character in Time Force, like, imagine if he died, imagine if Alex didn't actually save him from dying like he did. Like, it would have, like, it has that type of emotional impact,
I heard somewhere that they actually were gonna actually kill him off. I believe they filmed 2 different scenes for that, of how he would die. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I could be wrong.
I think
take this with a grain of salt.
I think that's the case with Eric, bro.
You sure it wasn't with the dad too?
I don't think so.
Oh.
But yeah, this honestly, the thing with Jonathan's death and like how Kimberly is affected, yeah, that's probably enough for me to get this a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, this is a 10 out of 10, but also adding on to that, Adam's resolution with his parents makes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's great too.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, I'm going to be giving multiple 10s, and I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to say like, no, this is a 9.5 because I can't give 10s. Because the audio drama breaks all my rules on 10.
Yep.
So 10 out of 10 would do again, except don't do all the deaths again, because please, I can't lose any more people.
Yeah.
Right.
What about you, Anthony?
He's giving us 10.
I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 too.
I'm speaking for Anthony. You have no choice.
I mean, I'm already going to say 10 out of 10 anyway, so
okay.
You're good.
Okay, well, let's move on to Episode 10, finale part 1, The Orb of Time. The episode begins with Ninjori taking his leave of the Rangers. He's unsure if they'll win, but he gives the Rangers new armor upgrades and the ability to combine the power weapons before leaving. Aisha calls him off, telling him that he's a coward. Mitchell takes the Rangers family to safety, urging the Rangers to end Zedd. Aisha tries to comfort a broken Cat, and Cat voices her guilt over not having killed Rita before, and she blames herself for her family's death, but Aisha tells her it's not her fault. After a briefing from Zordon, who tells them about their new metallic armor made by Ninjori, the Rangers all morph. They summon their Zords to begin their final battle with Zedd. They use the Megazords to destroy the shields surrounding Zedd's fortress, the army storming and engaging Zedd's forces in battle. The U.S. Army, by the way. The Rangers assisting them with the Megazords. As the Rangers are battling Zedd's forces, Vilius approaches Rita and reveals to her the Orb of Time, which he aims to use to fix everything, and wishes for Rita to use the remainder of her latent magic to repower it. Vilius believing he can power it with the morphing grid combined with Rita's magic. As the Rangers corner Zedd, he takes out their Megazord and severely weakens himself. The Rangers eject and don their new metallic armor. They battle the Tengas and Goldar, who's been given cybernetic upgrades to help him recover from injuries, making him Mecha Goldar. Tommy and Kim go after Zedd, but then they get overpowered. And, well, Riz, I'm sorry. You said that you can't handle any more death. Well, too bad. This show is about to give it to us. Zedd stabs Kimberly and kills her. And then he gets overpowered and killed him. Tommy gets killed, too, when he attacks Zedd in rage. And this results in all the Rangers. They combine the power weapon to form a power blaster, and they use that to defeat Zedd once and for all. The Rangers mourn the loss of Tommy and Kim. That's Vilius' cue to approach the Rangers and offer them help with the Orb of Time. Rocky and Aisha doubt they can trust him, but Adam is tempted to do so, not just for the sake of saving Tommy and Kim, but also restoring his legs. Billy is unsure, and he's also kind of stressed out with being the de facto leader of the team. And after much thought, Billy agrees to use Tommy and Kim's power coins to power the Orb of Time. Aisha also agreeing to use hers as well. The two are sent back in time to before Rita arrived on Earth, and they make a plan to meet up and be teleported to the command center. But as Billy prepares to leave, he finds that Bandora's forces have already arrived on Earth. That's how the episode ends. This couple of Easter eggs. This episode marks the debut of this iteration's version of the metallic armor. It turns the Ranger suits to a more metallic cover to enhance their power and defense. This originally appeared in season 3 of the main series, also debuting near the end of the season. The Orb of Time, and this is this iteration's version of the Orb of Doom, an artifact used by Master Bile, that's Vilius' counterpart, to turn back time and defeat the Rangers at the end of season 3 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And finally, it took them long enough, but they finally did it. This episode marks this debut of this iteration's version of the Power Blaster. It's the combination of the 5 power weapons, itself an adaptation of Zyuranger's Howling Cannon. Ironically enough, they never used the Power Blaster in season 3. It was used all the time in season 1. It saw diminished use in season 2, and ironically, it was retired by season 3. But hey, we still get to see the Power Blaster, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you know what's, and you also know is very interesting. Another small-ish spoiler for the Boom comics, if anyone wants to know. They actually did form the Power Blaster in a way where like not all the Rangers were present, because there was a flashback arc where they weren't the actual first Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in the comic book era. In 1969, I believe, I think that was the year that these Rangers were sought out by Zordon. It was a female Red Ranger that was leading the team at the time, and their main enemy was actually Psycho Green.
Oh.
And not a lot of Rangers survived that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna tell you who survived, who didn't. But most of the team died. So only a few of them had enough power, enough to get the weapons and made the power blaster and fire it against, Psycho Green and.
Oh,
But yeah, that was similar. That was very similar to. I was listening. I was like, that's similar to what happened in the comics.
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what do we think about this one, guys?
People died again. Jar Jar Martin, what are you doing here? Give it back to Karl.
And I'm like, dude, Tommy already died back in season
died
1.
twice.
Like,
Hey, Riz,
Twice.
Riz, are we watching that that certain episode of The Acolyte all over again? Where all those big characters die?
Nate. I don't know how much more it is I can. That's what I was saying in the podcast for that. That I feel like I'm having George R. R. Martin like flashbacks over and over again because it's all over right now.
I mean, not just George R. R. Martin. I mean, with all those main characters dying in The Acolyte too, it's like all around.
No, I call Leslie George R. R. Martin in that podcast. I think.
Yeah, you might have, but
because man, this is rough.
Yeah,
but honestly,
absolutely.
I feel more for this than I did for The Acolyte.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
But I will say, of all the things that I expected this audio drama to bring out, I never thought about bringing the metallic armor here.
Me neither.
Nice
touch.
It was a nice touch. It was something I didn't like in the original Mighty Morphin, but here it actually makes sense. They did it for a good reason, and not just because, screw it, why not? Like, I don't remember the reason in the main series why we even have metallic armor. Do y'all remember why?
I think it was just it might have been.
They were fighting against Master Vile, Vile's new monster.
Yeah, but
it was like a 3-parter. I think.
But metallic armor just sucks. It's freaking glitter.
It's freaking glitter, as Linkara said it.
Yeah, but yeah, it was cool to see metallic armor debut here just for a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's kind of weird that they waited until now to debut the Power Blaster, but I mean, better late than never.
I could have sworn I thought they debuted it back in season 1, but apparently not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you would have been better off like just having them regularly use the Power Blaster, and then I don't know. Maybe you could have debuted the Power Cannon here. Their new bazooka that they used in season 2, which was the dairanger weapon. Anthony knows what I think. Anthony knows what I'm talking about.
It was that cannon, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, it was called the Power Cannon.
I mean, I'm talking about the dairanger, the equivalent.
Oh, okay, yeah, that I don't remember that. But yeah, I mean, when Kimberly died, that's when I'm just thinking like, whoa, is this how they're getting rid of Kimberly? Because
that's what I thought too. I was like, wait, how are we gonna have Kimberly die here to have Kat come in instead?
Is this how we're getting rid of Kimberly and having Kat take her place? Because I don't dig this. I really don't.
Me neither.
No. And I'm just sitting here like, okay, so how many times can Tommy die? Like, how many lives does this bro have?
I mean,
yes.
Yeah, the answer is
but yeah, I didn't like the fact that he died twice. I'm like, dude, like, it's bad enough he died once. And what's crazy, he wasn't even supposed to die back in season 1, from what Alex said.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is still really great stuff. I know that
I blame Draken.
Yeah, it was Draken's fault.
Yeah, I know we're talking constantly about how, like, with the bloodbath and stuff, but it's still great. I feel like Tommy and Kim's death is a great catalyst for, bringing in the Orb of Time stuff. Really great writing. Yeah, this is another 10 for me.
Same.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to move on to the last episode, guys?
I'm not ready.
I'm not ready.
I'm not ready for that ending.
Well, yeah, but all right. So let's just all hold hands mentally and venture through this together.
Yes,
Um,
let's all hold hands from Louisiana, Georgia, and North Carolina.
yeah.
Yeah, North Carolina.
Yes.
Okay, so the episode begins. Billy and Aisha, they're speaking with Rocky and Adam. So Billy and Aisha are back in time, and they're aware of everything, but everybody else has their memories. Obviously, their mind is set in the present time. They try to rally them to their cause, but they blow them off, feeling that since Billy has helped them before, the aliens must be now on their side. Aisha feels that they have a point, but Billy is still distraught over how easy everything has been and wonders if Bilius will indeed betray them somehow. The two accompany Rocky and Adam on a beach trip. While at the beach, the four encounter Ninjori, who transports Billy and Aisha into the morphing grid, showing the Rangers a vision where Bilius will ultimately gain influence among the world's leaders and become a hero over time, allowing him to create a new army of Tengas that'll lead to him wiping out humanity and ruling over Earth. He urges the two to use the orb to return to their natural timeline, but Billy refuses because he thinks, well, we could just kill Vilius and prevent all this from happening. The four arrive in the command center as Billy begs Zordon for help. Zordon, having decided not to summon the Rangers in this timeline since Bandora came peacefully. Despite agreeing with Billy, Zordon refuses to go with Billy's plan to storm the Pentagon and kill all the aliens. Billy, who's still distraught over not killing Zedd from before, he goes to the Pentagon himself and he leaves the Stone Canyon trio alone. Adam voices indifference over Billy's fate. Ninjori appears to Aisha again and reveals a vision of what the future holds, given Billy's actions, including a vision that if they return to their timeline, the Rangers' actions will inspire many more Ranger teams in the future to rise and continue the fight against the forces of evil. Among the visions, Tommy is shown among them as Ravagers corrected the timeline since Tommy and Kim weren't supposed to die. Vilius, Rita, and Goldar are being tested by the government. Vilius secretly reveals his plan to have Zedd attack Earth just as Billy arrives and attacks the Pentagon. He goes after the three, but is easily overpowered. Vilius mocking him as he claims the Earth was always meant to be ruled by him. But before Rita can kill Billy, Ninjori arrives alongside Aisha, killing Vilius as Aisha reveals to Billy what Ninjori told her. So Ninjori repairs the damaged orb of time, and Aisha reveals that she and Ninjori will take Tommy and Kim's place in the grid. So what'll happen is that they'll return to the timeline, but Tommy and Kim will be revived and Ninjori will die in Tommy's place, and Aisha will die in Kimberly's place because Aisha is unimportant in the timeline, apparently.
I think they might differ, but okay.
Yeah. She gives a tearful goodbye. Billy and Aisha have a tearful goodbye. Aisha's happy she can finally make a difference. And Billy returns to the present. Vilius and Aisha are dead. Sorry. Okay, Vilius takes Tommy's place, not Ninjori. Sorry about that mix up. Vilius and Aisha are dead. Tommy and Kim are revived. The Rangers all mourn the loss of Aisha. Rocky lashes out at Tommy and Kim, blaming them for Aisha's death. Tommy says the Rangers will keep Rita locked up. But with Goldar and the Machine Empire still on the loose, the Rangers have to keep fighting. Tommy and Kim have a moment where Kim rejects Tommy's offer to pick up from where they left off. They've been cut off from their power coins through their deaths, and Kim decides it's a good time as any to just walk away from the team. So she breaks up with Tommy and she decides to go live with her mom in Paris. And yeah, that's how Kimberly walks away. After Kim, Rocky and Adam leave. So Rocky and Adam go to be with their families, and Mecha Goldar breaks into the command center, attempting to free Rita so she can lead Zedd's remaining forces. Tommy and Billy arrive too late as Goldar successfully frees her. Goldar takes Rita back to the Sydney base where she frees the Zeo crystal before Goldar kills her. happy to be free of Rita's control as he takes the crystal for himself. But then, a Zedorian soldier who introduces himself as Trey of Triforia, I think I've seen that name before somewhere. um, he he reveals himself and snags the crystal from him, revealing that the Zeo crystal came from his planet, and he teleports away from Goldar. Alpha detects an alien device within the command center, and Billy discovers that Goldar planted a bomb in the command center. Alpha ejects Tommy and Billy from the command center, but it's too late to disarm the bomb as it detonates, taking out the entire command center out. Tommy and Billy look on in terror as the command center has been completely destroyed. The episode ends as the Emperor's Wrath is revealed to have completely transformed into a new flagship for the Machine Empire. And pretty much, we have Prince Gasket, Queen Mondo, Queen Machina. They're all preparing for a new invasion of Earth. And that is how season 3 ends. Couple of cool Easter eggs to talk about here. Rocky's comments about Power Rangers. So when Aisha and Billy are trying to explain to Adam and Rocky everything that happened, Rocky says that Power Rangers sounds like, quote, one of those cheesy kids TV shows from the 90s, unquote. Do I even have to tell you what that's a reference to? Come on, guys. Adam at one, which, by the way, great line, Jimmy. Absolutely loved that line. Adam at one point mistakenly refers to Vilius as Master Vile. That's the name of his main series counterpart. As Ninjori reveals his visions of the future Ranger teams, we can hear re-editions of theme songs for other Ranger teams. Some of these include every season from Zeo to Lightspeed Rescue, Dino Thunder, and Dino Charge. And I think there might have been some other theme songs, but those are the ones I heard.
Yeah, so it's actually on YouTube if you want to listen to it. It's called the All Power Rangers Theme Songs Epic Orchestra by Soy Sauce for Me.
Oh, cool. Aisha's departure as a character mirrors her main series counterpart departing from the show at the end of season 3, and this is much darker compared to her, compared to this. Kim's mother moving to Paris mirrors her main series counterpart, who was established as living there after she divorced Kim's father. This episode marks the debut of this iteration's version of Trey of Triforia. He's depicted as an alien from the planet of Triforia. Fittingly enough, as he steals the Zeo crystal from Goldar, you can hear a re-edition of the Go Gold Ranger theme song playing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, to wrap up these Easter eggs, Goldar breaking into the command center and planting a bomb to wrap up the season mirrors how season 3 of the main series ends, where the command center suffers a very similar fate. So what do we think about this episode, guys?
I'm going to start off with a joke because we need one here. So the entire time the bomb thing is going on, all I can think in the back of my mind is Sledge yelling, "It's a bomb!"
Oh boy.
I was half hoping that somehow, some way, they would get somebody to voice Sledge for that just one moment in time to yell that one phrase, and that's it. Like, make Sledge a monster of the week in this iteration, and then after this bomb goes off, he's thrust out into the galaxy and made into his own, like, pirate group that goes gallivanting to find dino gems or inner gems or whatever you call them in Dino Charge.
They're inner gems.
Inner gems, yeah. But yeah, this episode has a lot to unpack. I'm actually not even sure to begin yet. I guess my first easy comment to make is the Triforia thing. So I don't know if you guys caught on to it, but we've had this voice actor in the season on and off throughout, but he just was undercover the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He was like what he was like what like not a general, but he was like he had some kind of
He was some kind of like
rank
he was some kind
rank.
of like captain or something. He was like captain number 2 or something on the script.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's been there for a while, just kind of biding his time. So I thought that was pretty cool. And
I was
then
actually surprised that he didn't die at one point, because with how crazy Zed is, you would think that he would probably be like, "You all failed," I'm surprised that didn't happen yet.
yeah, I will say Ninzori's revelation of the future teams with some of the songs playing was really awesome.
Yeah, I love
Yes.
that a lot.
I think I heard Zeo Turbo in space
Like I said,
in the beginning.
everything from Zeo to Lightspeed Rescue.
Oh, that's what you said. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of sped up some of the music because I know the entire uh, song is like 9 minutes long from what I heard on YouTube.
Yeah. But yeah, this thing was really awesome to hear. That was really cool. It was a good fan service without being fan service. Like it served a really big purpose and it did well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It also gives us an idea of like their plans to continue going even after Zeo. Like if they can hit Dino Thunder, I'll be happy. Like that. If that's where they end, I'd be really happy.
Yeah. I
If
really
they go beyond Dino Thunder, I'd be very interested to see how they do it.
Yeah, well, we got a long time for that, so
Yeah. So, do we want to just get on to the big topic here?
yeah, but what would we give this last episode out of 10? I mean,
Oh no, we're not done with the analysis, are we?
well, I mean, we want to talk about the whole series?
Oh no, I'm talking about the episode. There's a lot of things to still unpack.
Oh, okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Hold
Yeah,
your
yeah, it
roll,
is.
Nate. Hold your roll.
Sorry about that, man.
Come on, man. All right. So, I'm gonna rip the bandit off and say, "Damn, they did my girl Isa dirty here." But also, whilst her death was a big deal, it's also very honoring for her, like to go out in a big way like this. Like she went out a real hero to the team.
She did.
So pour one out for our girl Isa for being an MVP of the season.
Yeah, way better than how she goes out in the main series. That like she got done.
And even in Once and Always.
No, but even in like the main series, like I was always annoyed how there was no build up for Ayesha leaving and Hog Day Afternoon. It's just all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, so guys, here's Tanya, and I'm gonna send her back with my Krista because I want to stay in Africa. Like,
Yeah.
could we have gotten some build up for that, please?
Yeah, no, this is ultimately better.
Yeah.
It's Saban's fault that it went that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will say I kind of half agree with Rocky in this timeline about Tommy's importance. Like, I understand in the main universe having Tommy be like this all powerful Ranger because he's donned, 5 different suits in his tenure and he's been around for all these different episodes. But is the same thing true here, do you think?
I wouldn't say so just yet. I mean, it really depends on where they go with this character.
Yeah, because as of right now, he's been more like a Jesus Christ figure getting resurrected to continue to fight. Like, I, I, I like the direction they're going, trying to emulate the main series, but I don't feel Tommy has earned the notoriety that he's been getting from the future about being this all-important ranger that needs to be there for all time. Like he hasn't done well. Okay, even in the main series, he didn't do anything that notable aside from being the longest-serving ranger.
Well, I mean, well, yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, I've always said that Tommy is overrated, but
Well, I mean, it's not that he's overrated. It's that he's the longest serving ranger in the main series.
Mm-hmm.
He was there for the entire Mighty Morphin. He had some really cool moments as Green and White. As the Red Zeo and Red Turbo, he was definitely a leader, but I wouldn't say his leadership was better than, say, Andros or TJ in some instances, or like even Jason.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, so a lot of that fan hype and the reason Tommy can't die in the main universe is because we, the fandom, kept him around by sending Saban all the requests to keep him around.
Yeah.
But here, I really hope when we get to Zeo, they do something big to make it make sense for why Tommy cannot leave just yet.
Again, we just kind of have to see. We just kind of have to see what route they're going to
Yeah,
take with this character. I mean, I think
yeah,
it's
that
too early to say anything.
agreed. It is too early, but it is something I want to bring up that I have some questions on the Tommy storyline here. Also, I am curious about Kimberly because Alex Drake, I don't think said Kimberly mattered in Tommy's life in the future. So why are they saying now that Kimberly matters?
I I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe I I want to think that maybe that was more of just kind like they had. Okay, the thing about, if we're talking about these characters in relation to like the main series, the difference between Kimberly and Aisha is that Kimberly actually comes back to the series for the Turbo movie. So Kimberly is a character where, there's still some stuff that you could do with her. The thing about Aisha is that once once she leaves the show, okay, she gets mentioned in one episode of Zeo, where that debuts the Auric the Conqueror guy, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
We never see or hear from her again. So I think maybe the whole thought process is that it's more of just a catalyst to try to have Aisha be written off the show, because maybe they just kind of feel that Aisha, there's just not any more that they can do with Aisha here, which I disagree, because I feel like you could keep Aisha around as a supporting character and maybe expand upon the whole like on again off again romance that she has with Rocky. So, not to say that I agree with everything I'm saying here, but I just imagine maybe that's the thought process.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh,
Um,
fun. Not a fun
I'm just
fact. It's
hoping
kind of a
that
fun fact,
they,
but while I was listening to the after show, which was like the cast talking about the cast and Karl talking about the finale and all that. Originally, they were going to have Billy take the place of Aisha at one point, and he would have died instead of
Oh, I'm
her.
glad they didn't do that.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just curious, and I'm thinking this kind of, so Kimberly's departure at the end may not be her last appearance, for many reasons. One, she does come back in Turbo, but also she doesn't explicitly break up with Tommy here.
Yeah, that's fair.
She's done being a ranger, so there is more to her here. Also, I think we need Kimberly alive to break up with Tommy to let him get with Kat.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're done with Kimberly yet.
Did they establish they lost their powers yet or no?
Um, Kimberly and Tommy's powers are severed from the grid.
Okay,
As
so
they
it's
died.
only Zach. I mean, not. I'm saying Zach. Adam, Rocky, and Billy still have their powers. So basically,
No, Billy's powers are gone too because of the him going back in time.
okay. So only Rocky and Adam
Adam.
have their powers,
Yeah,
right?
I don't think Billy can morph. And that lines up with Billy getting brought back to his age before everyone else and being unstable, which is the whole subplot for the Aquatar stuff in the later part of Zeo.
I'm kind of curious if they're gonna have him be kind of like old at what point. I wonder if they're gonna do that.
They might. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with him, but I do think Billy's character here was really awesome.
Yeah.
For many reasons. Like the big one though is you could see the beginning of what could have been Billy had they gone to future Billy 20 years later, like they did in the Coinless world. Like Billy here could have gone that route.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a pretty cool thing that they did here. But yeah, other than that, I think the Tenga thing that Vilius was trying to do, that's horrifying, man. Like
Yeah.
I think the concept of the Tenga in this audio drama is probably the most frightening foot soldier full stop in the Power Rangers anything.
Yeah.
Especially when you go from having them just be birds to them being hybrid bird human things, that's even more frightening.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's really cool, but also really, really frightening.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, those are my major thoughts on this. I personally loved this a lot.
Yeah.
I do have that question on Tommy and Kim and their purpose going forward, but that's a question for Zeo and not for today.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I enjoyed this finale too.
Yeah.
And I'll probably this is another 10 for me.
Yeah. Same.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely a 10.
Yeah.
So, we don't have to go character by character here. I mean, I think we've covered a lot of his stuff, but like, was there any I mean, I know you guys all love Rito, but was there any other standout moments from the villains you want to talk about?
Yeah, this is something that I picked up on from the after show that when you think about it, it does make a lot of sense. The Rangers don't actually kill any of the main villains. The villains kill each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's worth calling out because that is crazy good writing in that, these villains have a huge threat factor and the Rangers struggle to beat them, but then they don't have to because they beat up each other and kill each other and then, oh look, the Machine Empire's here. Get wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, no, I mean, I think the only character that I really would want to give more kudos to is Rita. Because Rita's character was just menacing throughout. Like, she had this plan on how to keep Zedd under her control. She killed Jonathan, for God's sake. And she's always been that one thorn in everyone's you know what. And she is just phenomenal as a villain.
Yep.
Like,
Yes.
the other thing that I think is really awesome here is Vilius. Because Master Vile, honestly, was kind of boring in Mighty Morphin to me. But Vilius being this negotiator type person who believes in power through democracy and basically being Palpatine, that's pretty awesome writing, and that makes him a lot more menacing and threatening, in my opinion, and thus a really awesome character.
Yeah, he seems to be a lot more
agree.
on par in terms of like the threat factor. Like, I would say, and it sucks that I can't remember the name of his Kakuranger counterpart, but his Kakuranger counterpart is
Damio.
what was that?
Damio.
Damia?
Or, well, it's like, you recall, it's like the same term that I think King Piccolo had called himself in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Okay, Daimo. Like, Daimo is probably one of the most like legitimately like threatening and like powerful villains that I've seen in Sentai, and I've seen a lot of great Sentai. Probably not on the level of not quite on the level of Dog Dead from King Oger, but kind of getting there. I mean, I can't even. I don't want to spoil how the Kakurangers ultimately defeat him because Riz hasn't seen Kakuranger yet. But Villius seems a lot more on par with his Sentai counterpart with just how intimidating and like the threat factor compared to Master Vile. Master Vile to me always kind of came off as a villain who's like all hype but no real action because I remember when Zeo was coming out and everybody was saying, "Oh no, the Machine Empire is here. They're even more powerful than Master Vile." And it's like, is that really the way you want to hype them up? I mean, because honestly, Rita and Zedd came off as much more intimidating than Master Vile. So Villius here is just he's much more on the level of his Sentai counterpart, and that is a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have nothing else to add with the other Rangers though. The other villains.
I will just say the best characters in the villain cast is House Pandora.
Yeah, for sure.
And not because Nathan's a friend of mine, but because Rito is just that amazing. He's my favorite villain.
Yeah, Rita. Yeah, I thought Rita was entertaining in the main series too, but I don't know. Like, I can't remember this. I think there was like this one like adult joke that anyone said where I had to hold myself back from laughing because I was in a public place while I was listening to this. But like Rita was all like, "Yeah, it's over there next to Ed's like Ed's giant ball." Ed's giant balls or something like that. I can't remember. I can't remember exactly what the circumstances were, but that was genuinely hilarious.
Yeah, I mean the entire anytime Rito's on air, it's a great time for me.
Yeah.
But want to move on to supporting cast?
Yeah.
I think besides him, I actually do enjoy Goldar because that dude, he's been through a lot, and he killed his wife. He freaking finally got Rita. Finally stabbed her in the back. Stabbed her in the back. And still being loyal to Zed even after everything he went through. That man's loyal, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and even Zed notices, like, yeah, he's like, yeah, fix him up, please, because he's loyal. He earned that. Because he had to do that. He could have just let him die, but he's like, no.
Yeah.
He did good. He's loyal. Let's keep him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
But let's start with. I mean, when it comes to the supporting cast, let's talk about the former Rangers. Jason, Zach, Trini, Kat, David.
So you already know my thoughts on Jason. Jason is probably the best written of the supporting cast, in my opinion.
Yeah.
His
Yes.
arc ending the way it did is like S tier writing for Jason. Like he goes through so much emotional turmoil in 3 seasons. Losing Chicago, having to lead the team through disaster after disaster, dealing with losing his powers and the mental health issues and all that. Like this is all powerful stuff for him.
Yeah. And I think that it's a fitting way to kind of use that as like a catalyst to have him, at least for now. We don't know how they're going to handle him in Zeo, but at least for now, like this seems like a very fitting wrap up to his whole arc that he's moving away to get away from it all. And if this does prove to just be the end of his character, I mean, all I can say is I hope that he's able to find peace within himself because
Yeah.
he needs it more than anybody else does.
Well, I will say, I'm kind of hoping now that we're at the finale, I'm kind of hoping that Treya Triforia remains the Gold Ranger throughout and it's not replaced by Jason, which will allow us to have the Omega Rangers appear at some point when we need them.
That would be awesome.
Because think about it, like they went to Switzerland. No one's really talked to them since.
Yeah.
How do you know they're not gallivanting around doing their own thing?
Yeah, I don't think there's much to talk about with Zach and Trini here. Like, they're both just kind of support for Jason, largely.
Excuse you, Mastodon, get your ass down here.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know, man. I know.
No, Zach was just the master of quips. That's his big thing.
Yeah.
Trini was largely here in this season to be Jason's girlfriend and support.
Mm-hmm.
She did have some good moments with Kimberly though, especially in that heart to heart when they're like, when Trini goes talk to her before the boys go in. Like that was nice, but no, Trini's character has been kind of on the not been really used a lot since season 2.
Yeah.
And it's sad because I thought Trini's character in here, I might get some flack for saying it, but I don't really care. But I think the Trini and the audio drama is more well written than what we got into Mighty Morphin.
Why would that be bad? Because
People might get mad at me for saying it because they're Mighty Morphin purists.
I mean, I think a lot of, I like Trini, I really do, but I would say that of the main 5, she was probably the weakest of the main 5, which, she's still a great character. She's still stronger than, like, any character we get in, like, I don't know, like, Ninja Steel or something, which by the way, guys, people who are listening, I'm watching Ninja Steel. I'm absolutely subjecting myself to mental torture. Please help me. But,
if it helps, Anthony and I are kind of forced him into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
But with that said, like, yeah, I definitely agree. Trini was a much more, not like her romance with Jason. I actually really do like, because here's the thing: I know that there was never any romantic hints between Trini and Jason in the show, but I think Tui Trong and ASJ had some pretty good chemistry to the point where if main series Jason and Trini got together, I'd be cool with it. I would totally dig it.
I don't know if I would want them together, but to each their own.
I'm not saying that I would want them together, but but it's something where I could totally believe it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. But do we want to talk about Kat?
Kat goes through a whole lot of loss in this season, and it's so tragic. And she's really powerful in the first part of the season with the Kimberly Tommy subplot, and then losing her family at the end. But aside from that, we don't really get a lot of Kat in this. But the door is wide open for her to become Zyuranger 1 Pink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how she gets there, you know?
Yep, for sure. I'm curious to see how this goes on for her.
Yeah.
What about David?
I think we got a lot of good David stuff this season with the with that bonus episode they gave us. Like that was really good, and I was really happy with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's move on to the main Rangers now. We don't have to do any character ranking or anything, and let's be honest, all these characters are either S or A tiers, so we don't even have to do the tiering stuff.
We're not going to tier them. We're not going to rank them. Let's just talk about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I would to kind of start with Billy. I liked the stuff with Billy and his father early on, but that kind of got resolved pretty quickly. But then that whole thing in the last episode where he's kind of the de facto leader, having the most seniority, that was the part that I always liked, because I always really like to interpret like I know Rocky was technically wearing red, but I always kind of viewed Billy as being like the second in command. Well, okay, I think like during this era, like when Billy and Kimberly were still on the team, I think Kimberly was the second in command, because there's one episode in Return of the Green Ranger where the main 5 Rangers morph without Tommy, and even though Rocky is there, Kimberly's the one calling the morph. It's morphin' time. And there's like multiple different episodes where Rocky and Billy are morphing and Billy calls the morph. So I always kind of interpreted Billy as being like the second in command, but I like how this show kind of gave him that moment to shine and actually show a little bit of the stress that he would have having that type of role. But did you guys want to add anything?
I will echo. I love Billy's de facto leadership at the end, because he is, in my opinion, like one of the longest serving people in the main series, and he also does do a lot of really amazing things to further the team through his inventions. I mean, it can be argued he created turbo powers, for example, and he's been an amazing support to them in Zeo in the main series. So him being a leader here, and also the way he became a leader through pain and suffering, I mean, that's huge. That's a lot of character development for him, and he just goes through a lot of different things. I kind of wish, the only thing with Billy I wish we had gotten a little bit more of was more expose of him and Trini kind of hitting it off, and just more of them connecting into season 3. Like, they didn't really do a lot together,
No, they didn't.
and that was kind of one thing I wish we had gotten a little bit more of with them post Trini losing her powers.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, Anthony, got anything else you want to add?
This was very. I like the fact that all the Rangers got to really shine this season. This felt like,
No.
you know,
Well, did you want to add anything about for Billy though, dude?
for Billy per se, this felt like his arc really, like the way that he, but especially what happened in the beginning of the first episode with him dealing with I think wasn't he the first to morph, or am I tripping?
I think that.
What did you say?
Was he the first to morph on when he got the new powers, or no?
New powers being the Triceratops wolf power?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, so he was the first to morph, and he was honestly the first one that was gonna, try to kill Zedd, and actually, plan on doing it for that season. So it felt like it was meant to be Billy's arc throughout the entire story, but he still focused on the other Rangers too.
Yeah.
So I definitely enjoyed that.
Yeah.
What about Kimberly, guys?
Kimberly is the MVP of the season, or one of the MVPs of the season to me. Because of her dad's death. Like, Kimberly's always been one that gets hit hardest when things happen. She was hit hardest with the trio leaving to go to Switzerland. She got hit pretty hard with her dad for really, really good reasons, obviously. When Tommy died in earlier seasons, she was like, really beaten up by it. But the most important thing about Kimberly here is, while she had all the trauma, she didn't take it like a dainty princess. She clapped back. Like, in my opinion, she's the one that defeated Rita, because she destroyed Rita's staff and ring, and that's the source of Rita's power. And that's a huge thing. Like, I know Goldar stabbed her in the back, but I think Kimberly's the one that defeated her. So Kimberly is an MVP in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yep.
Although I know that I was kind of like not really feeling the actress who played as her role as Kimberly in the first season. I think I was kind of having difficulty kind of like vibing with her, because the way she would portray her character, it just seems kind of like she's kind of like, not really reading. Like, I felt like she was like reading her lines for some reason. I don't know why, but like as time progressed, she got a lot better in my personal opinion. And I want to say that the girl was like bad or anything. It just at first I was kind of like, why does she sound like this? She sounds like trying to. She's trying too hard to try to, I guess, do in her role. I don't know. It just sounded kind of off to me. But she definitely grew on me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you guys said about Kim, mostly with what Riz said, so I don't really have much to add.
Okay. Who's next for you?
Okay.
Tommy?
Tommy, I feel like there's not too many notable things he did this season aside from and seeing red, in my opinion. Like he worked with Jason and Rocky to help uncover what's going on with them. But then I feel like he was kind of put on the sideline for other characters to have some time.
Yeah, I mean that little mini episode that he had with David was a nice one,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
aside from that, like he didn't really do much for this season.
Yeah, which is part of why I was questioning earlier the Tommy legacy in the future for Dino Thunder and why he was important to the timeline according to Drake. You know, like it's that reason. Like if Tommy's so important, then I would expect some other big things coming from him in this season to prop him up for next season. You know.
Yeah.
But
I think it was just probably like, more stuff's gonna happen with him and Zeo. I think this was more or less like set up for Zeo. That's probably why he didn't get much to do.
you know, it'd be really cool if they take the King for a Day plot from Zeo and extend it out for like a 2-3 part episode deal.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing.
Like that would be really fun.
Yeah, I would totally be excited for that because King for a Day was probably one of the more highlight episodes of Zeo, but it would be
Yeah.
cool to see that an interpretation of that.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess Rocky is next. Looking at your outline now.
Yeah, Rocky is the. I mean, I will say that I feel like Rocky's whole drama with Tommy kind of ended partially anticlimactically, but then using that whole Lord Draken episode, the Coinless World, as a way to kind of for them to make amends, that ultimately kind of worked. And not only that, but I mean this is probably like a more, I don't know, it feels like the most natural, like a human way for people to like make amends, where sometimes you get angry with people and you're not talking to each other, and you could go on for like years and years and years not talking, but then one day you just all of a sudden make up, and then it's almost as if that drama never happened to begin with. And yeah, I mean, so I it does come off as pretty natural. And yeah, I liked Rocky this whole thing because I don't think he really did much last season. He was still pretty cool, but I personally thought that he just really came into a lot more as a character, and I would probably say that everything that he does in this season makes him a much more interesting character than Rocky was for his entire 3-year run, which I don't mean any disrespect to Steve Cardenas. He tried his best with Rocky, but he just wasn't. Rocky was just never really written particularly interesting for me.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna echo everything you said, and I think you covered it pretty well, Nate.
Yep. Did you want to add anything, Anthony?
Dude, he's like my favorite character in this entire.
Yeah.
Well, him in this season, he's my favorite aside from Billy. Well, as far as Rangers goes, because like, dude, I was like low-key on his side for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some things he was wrong about. I will say this, but like overall, it's like, yeah, he kind of has a point. He's not handling it well, but he has a point.
Yeah.
What about Adam?
Adam had an incredible story arc this time. I mean, I've already spent enough time talking about that. So my thoughts on Adam are: you go listen to what I said for the last 3 hours, and you'll know what I think about Adam.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
And to wrap up with Aisha,
Let's boogie with the bear. Aisa's character has not really done a lot until the finale of this. Like, if we're gonna talk defining moments for each character, I can name something for each of them, right? Like, Billy almost killed Zedd. Kimberly defeated Rita. Tommy is Tommy. Rocky had the entire vigilante thing going. Adam had the disability thing going. But Aisa didn't really have anything really until the ending when she sacrificed herself for the greater good. And even extending back to season 2, I might be wrong about this, but there wasn't really any like notable Aisa event, like thing that she did on her own or thing that makes her stand out in a different way, you know?
mm-hmm.
So I think Aisa's ending here gives her character justice in that she wasn't the most focused on of the Ranger team, but she ended up having a huge impact on what Zeo will look like. And I think that's pretty big.
I think the only thing I'll mention about Aisha here is that I kind of I feel like her going out and like her saying that she feels like she's finally able to make a difference. I I feel like it's earned okay, but I wish that maybe there had been a bit more build up for like, maybe Aisha kind of wishing that she could do more to help the team instead of just, the typical normal stuff. Like I feel like it could have been earned a little bit more for her to ultimately decide to sacrifice herself in order to allow uh Kimberly and Tommy to live, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But do you agree, Riz?
Say that last part again.
I I feel like her like her making that comment that she's happy that she can finally make a difference, when she makes the decision to not to, give her life so that Tommy and Kimberly can live. It's a powerful moment and I feel like it was earned okay, but it probably could have been earned a bit better, like maybe just a little bit more build up to the idea that maybe Aisha doesn't feel
Yeah.
that she's doing enough for the team.
No, there should have been more Aisa time, and that's what I was kind of saying in the beginning, is that Aisa didn't really do a lot until the last like 20 minutes of the season.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I wish we had more Aisa time, because to beat that joke to death a little bit more, I want to boogie with the bear more.
Cool.
But no, I think you're right. Aisa definitely was probably okay. I'm looking at the entire list of Rangers for the entire Mighty Morphin run, and doing a quick ranking of them in my head, like by the S tier ranking system. Aisa's probably the only one I wouldn't consider in an S or A tier.
Yeah.
So overall, or it was just this season?
I'm talking Mighty Morphin, like
For no, in the main series or the audio drama?
audio drama.
Okay, yeah, I definitely agree.
No. In the main series, he was pretty fire, but in the audio drama, she was a bit more lackluster, I feel.
Yeah, for sure.
She had a little more personality in the second one, the second season.
Yeah, she did. Um, but she got relegated to being the girlfriend like Trini did. And that's the thing I don't like about Trini in this season,
I
was
did
that they're just
not like the fact that they were dating, that Rocky was dating her in the audio drama. I'm sorry, that's my only gripe with this, is that they were dating.
No, I don't mind them dating. I minded that they relegated them to being just a girlfriend and not having any other like anything else going on. Like Trini could have been Jason's girlfriend and supported him through his like mental health stuff, but had her own thing going as well, right? Like,
Mm.
Trini had this whole thing where she talked about like her dad having cancer at one point, remember?
Yeah.
Like, that could have been something to kind of build on a little bit more and do something more with, or do something else altogether with her. Same with Aisa, but they were kind of relegated to being the girlfriends. And, Kimberly was kind of falling into that same trap until she started wanting to kill Rita for her father and all that. And that's really the catalyst that awoken Kimberly in this season to make her more interesting.
Yep.
Right.
Like, I didn't really it's no secret that I didn't really care much for the love triangle of Tommy, Kim, and Kat. Like, that wasn't the thing that really excited me or got to me. But the thing that really got me was Kimberly's growth and character development with her dad, the death, and her decision to leave after. I mean, that was all what made Kimberly probably my favorite character of this season. Because I can feel for her. Rocky is a very close second to me.
Yeah.
He would have beaten Kimberly, but Kimberly went through way more than Rocky, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I definitely agree on that.
So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Like, I wish Aisa had more. And it didn't have to be a lot more. Like, just a little sub-story for her to do something. And I mean, I know she had the thing where she didn't trust Kat, but that didn't last long at all.
No,
it was
it
like
didn't.
half an episode. Like, we could have gotten more about, like, her personal life, about her family in the military, or something,
Yeah, we didn't get any of that. I was surprised. I thought we were going
Yeah.
to show us more of that, but I guess not.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's wrap this up with each of us giving us our final thoughts and final score out of 10 on the season.
Well, one of my final thoughts is, dear God, we're at 3 hours and still going. What the hell is wrong with us?
Yeah.
I really want to hurry up and get to bed soon because I got to work tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, so my thoughts are, this audio drama never ceases to surprise me. It's always been amazing, and I cannot wait for Zeo to come around next time. Like, just ready for that. So,
Same.
my other final thought is, hey, Hasbro, if you're somehow listening to this, 1, screw you, but 2, can you just hire Karl Dutton to come in and write the reboot for this thing? Because clearly he knows how to write, and he's really good at it, and he's had some practice at it. And he might make something that'll make you a lot of money, which is what you want and you're not getting. So, hey, hire Karl, you get money. Case done.
What do you want to give it out of 10?
The season?
Yeah.
I think a 9.5.
Okay, fair.
I want to give it a 9.
Okay. I got, so I apologize. I'm not gonna try to make this super long. I'm gonna be honest when it comes to season 3. So this is probably my second favorite of the 3 seasons that we have, because here was my dilemma with season 3. Season 2 blew me away. Like, season 2 was absolutely amazing. Like, season 2 is perfect in literally every possible way. And to the point where I was kind of afraid to watch season 3. Listen to season 3 in this case, just because season 2 just totally blew my mind, that I was just wondering how they were going to top this. And to the point where when I finally did listen and complete this, it was great. It was good, but I honestly felt whelmed. If I can't think of the best word to use it, but whelmed, I think, is the best word. Where, like, so season 1 came off as just a straight up gritty retelling of Mighty Morphin season 1, which perfectly fine because it's the way that you're trying to start this whole thing off. But then season 2 was, I mean, okay, they brought in season 2 elements, like they introduced the Thunderzords and all that, but season 2 felt like it was adapting multiple things at once. Like, you had the dairanger stuff, you're bringing in you're bringing in characters from other seasons, you're introducing the dairanger, like you're bringing in dairangers, and you're bringing in Time Force Rangers in season 2. this one just feels like it's just another gritty retelling of what happened in season 3, right down to like writing off Jason, Trini, and Zach so that, there's only those 6 Rangers. We have the Ninja Zords. And I'm honestly kind of disappointed that they didn't implement other elements. Like, I was looking forward to seeing how they would implement some of the kakuranger stuff and like bring in the alien rangers. There were no alien rangers this season. That kind of just
Well, they kind of used those. The Shadow Rangers were kind of like the suits they were using for the Alien Rangers were those.
No, actually, I would disagree with you both on that one. For 2 different reasons, I'm disagreeing. Number one, Anthony, if you remember, the Shadow Ranger suits were not based on the Kakuranger suits, from my recollection of the description.
yeah.
They weren't.
No, they weren't.
Oh,
I don't think so. Anyway, I might be wrong about that, but I don't remember them being based off the Kakuranger suit. They seem to be like more of a dark suit with like a tint of the other color. Like if it's like a black suit with some red on it, or like a black suit with some pink on it, or whatever. So they weren't based off Kakuranger suits. And to Nathan's point, I agree. I would love to have seen the Alien Rangers here, but now that we have Treya Triforia and the Zeo crystals, and Billy will need help at some point dealing with his instability, I see the door wide open in Zeo for Alien Rangers to appear as a Ranger team using the Kakuranger suit.
yeah, and that's fair. I just wish that they were brought in here,
Yeah.
because Rito and Vilius are both Kaku Ranger villains, so we should have the
Yeah.
Kaku Ranger counterparts here, even if it is for just 1 or 2 episodes. Because then, I mean, it would mirror the main series where the Alien Rangers are only there for like a handful of episodes and then they're gone. And I don't know. I mean, I was really curious to see how they would implement them, not just because, it's the cool of seeing the novelty of those characters there, but also because maybe they could actually make these Alien Ranger characters interesting characters for a change, as opposed to just the practical blank slates that they were in the. Well, okay, Delphine and Sestro were okay characters, but Ortho,
Yeah.
Corcus, and Titus, who are they again? Like, so
Yeah. No, I get your complaints about not using enough Kakuranger elements. I haven't seen Kakuranger, so I don't know what elements they would take, but I do think they did some good Kakuranger stuff by at least following the Zord appearance.
yeah, and making Vilius out to be like a villain that's much more on par with Daimo, as opposed to just
Yeah.
Master Vile, where he's Master Vile. Am I the only one who thinks that Master Vile was really forgettable in the main series? Like,
He was.
yeah, but yeah, so, and I don't mean to like, and I really don't want to sound like I'm trying to disrespect this, because first of all, what like the effort that these people put into this is something that was absolutely amazing, and I think they did a fantastic job with season
Yeah.
3. It's just I feel like they spoiled me a lot in season 2, to the point where maybe I just kind of had my expectations a little too high for this season. I don't know. It's kind of similar to how, like, watch our Jedi Squadron podcast on Rebels season 4, where it's like I got blown away and spoiled by season 3 to the point where I had really lofty expectations for season 4, and I was kind of disappointed. And spoiler alert, that's how I'm going to feel about Clone Wars season 6 when Riz and I eventually review that series. But it's similar here. Like, I was blown away by season 2. Season 2 just broke so many different boundaries. And I get it. I get what you said, Riz, about how there's different characters dying, major characters dying, and all that. I get it. I just kind of would have expected a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, the thing about the characters dying, it's not that they died and that's why I liked him. It's the way they died. Like Aisa dying the way she did, that's pretty huge.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
Mr. Kimberly's dad's death, also really huge.
Yeah, that for sure.
Rita's
Yeah.
death infuriates me because I want Rita to be alive, but that's a whole nother thing. But then all the villain deaths that we had, those were all pretty awesome in how they handled them. And I think the thing that we have to keep in mind going forward to Zeo, Turbo, Space, and etc., we're starting to hit the bounds of how close can we follow the main series story with what we've done in the audio drama. Like, the audio drama's done so many new things that you talked about that we can't remain as true to the original source, in my opinion. Like, I'm not going to say anything more than that because I've heard things in Karl Dutton's After So finale thing on Spotify that let me think that there's going to be a lot of differences in how things will progress from here compared to how things are in the main series,
Yeah.
story-wise. So I think we're going to get some really good writing, but we're not going to get as many of the Easter eggs and callbacks to the Sentai or the Rangers things like we used to. Because I think when we were in season 1 and 2, they had more liberty to just be blatantly throwing out, oh, hey, here's a reference to Boy. Hey, here's a reference to the Great Beast Spirits, or whatever they call the mechs in zyuranger. I forget now because I don't care about zyuranger,
Yeah.
but that's a whole other
Yeah,
story.
fair enough.
So I think they did a lot of that. I don't want to call it fan service in the first 2 seasons because it's not. But like just pulling those references in and making them fit, they were able to do that a lot more freely. But I think now, I think Karl's locked into a storyline, and he has to maintain that while changing the suits and Zords and power sets, while wrapping together a cohesive story. Because at a certain point, we're going to hit Lightspeed Rescue, and we've already laid the foundation for that here. And somehow they're going to have to find a way to tie in Lost Galaxy, right? Like, there's a lot of things that I don't think will happen the way they did in the main series. Like, for example, I'm speculating here because I have no freaking idea, but Lost Galaxy may not really be a thing that's on like Terra Venture or something. It could be something way different for all we know.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think we gotta kind of temper the expectations on getting these callbacks to kakuranger and other stuff that we didn't get.
I
And
know,
just kind
but
of
even if not necessarily the callbacks to Kakuranger, but just bringing in the Alien Ranger characters themselves, like the characters for Power Rangers.
yeah,
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, I don't really mind the lack of Sentai references because I get it. I mean, we're not going to be able to do that, but it would still have been cool to just have the Alien Ranger characters there, even if they're not.
yeah,
Even if you just want to introduce new aliens like Orico, Sestro, and Delphine, but not have them don Kaku Ranger suits, I would still have liked to have just seen them.
yeah. And I think we might still see them in the expanded universe because the alien rangers do appear in Zeo in space. I think. Yeah,
Yeah, they do.
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's still ample time to have them come in. It's not like we had to have them come in Mighty Morphin. I agree, it'd been kind of cool to have them there, but it wasn't mandatory that they were there then, you know?
Yeah.
So I think your points are valid. I'm not discounting your points whatsoever. I'm just saying
Hmm.
I think we need to be patient and see how they handle those threads that are left open. Because I think there's still a lot of opportunity to bring in those kind of elements in the future. Because we're not going to be hitting that season standalone thing minus like a one crossover kind of event like how other seasons will have, like, you know, Time Force and Lightspeed meet for like a one episode crossover and that's all we ever get from them. There could be a lot more overlap in the later seasons. We don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I would still give season 3 a I'll probably give it a 9.5 out of 10 because I think I gave season 1 a 9 and I gave season 2 a 10. So by this being my second favorite, it would probably be 9.5 for me.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
But yeah, do we have any other closing thoughts before we wrap up this super long podcast, gentlemen?
Nah, I said what I need to say. So
Yeah, we're good.
All right, then. Well, that wraps up our review of season 3 of the audio drama, guys. We hope everyone has enjoyed it. We're going to try to get Karl on, as well as hopefully some of the other crew from the audio drama on at some point for a future podcast. Couple of announcements for what we have intended to come in the future. Now that we have officially finished Ginga Man, we're going to still be trying to do a Lost Galaxy review soon. I again apologize to Rizwan. And we're going to be moving back to Boom Boomser very soon, after which we'll then begin to work on Goanger. We hope you guys will meet us for all of those podcasts. But I do want to reiterate before we wrap up here that if you guys have not checked out this audio drama, hopefully our podcasts have convinced you to check this stuff out, because it is absolutely amazing content. It is, this is like the peak of like fan made content, and we absolutely recommend you go check it out. And as Riz said, definitely consider donating to their Patreon. I know that I'm going to be doing that very soon. So, but with that said,
Same here.
we will catch you guys next time. We'll have Karl on very soon. Hopefully some of the other crew members whenever we possibly can. And we will jump on Zeo as soon as that season has been completed. We're definitely looking forward to doing that. But with that said, we'll see you guys for our next podcast. But until then, bye for now. If you enjoyed listening to the Toku Secrets podcast, please check us out at animesecrets.org and follow us on all our social media pages such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also feel free to check out our other podcasts, including Anime Declassified and the Jedi Squadron. You can also leave us any feedback you'd like to offer us directly on our website. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, we thank you so much, and please leave us a rating out of 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and leave any comments down below, as we love to take the time to read comments left on our channel and give our fans, shout-outs. If you have any seasons of Super Sentai, Power Rangers, or other tokusatsu shows that you'd like for us to check out, please don't hesitate to say so in your feedback. With all that said, we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we will see you next time as we continue our never-ending journey through the world of tokusatsu. But until that time, you all stay safe, we love you, and may the power protect you.